The Drop with Frank and Brian is officially brought to you by Switch Suspension. Switch Suspension specializes in all vehicle chassis components. Lift kits, lowering kits, air ride suspension, wheels, tires, steering, and brake upgrades. They use all the best products from the best brands. And these guys are truck guys. You roll into their parking lot at the shop and they all drive custom vehicles. So they use their products that they sell on their own vehicles. So if you guys are looking for anything for your vehicles, whether you're just starting out or you just need some replacement parts or whatever, give them a call or visit their website, switchsuspension.com.
Hope you enjoyed this episode of The Drop. If you like these podcasts and all the other content we create, head on over to our websites and purchase merch. Purchasing merch keeps us going and creating more content. Our websites are grinder-tv.com and livelifecustom.com. We really appreciate it. Now on to the episode. Okay. Welcome to this week's episode. We are back.
Everybody had enough sports for this month.
So that we're going right into it.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Before we begin,
Yeah.
I got to say, welcome to this week's episode. We're sitting back here with Will in Brian's office.
Yep.
And
I thought he was going to say that one of the other teams had to forfeit, and now his team was back in the softball tournament.
And then we had the tie.
No. What I was going to say is this episode isn't the Drop of Frank and Brian with guest Will Freeman. This is the Drop
With Frank, Will, and Brian.
with Frank, Will, and Brian. Yeah, we're just going to sit here. We're just going to chop it up.
I'm
This is
infiltrating.
This is not a guest episode, so to speak. So the biggest question, the biggest thing going down right now is, why do we all of a sudden suck?
So okay, this is how it played out. I got a phone call from someone, and they're like, "Hey man, that last podcast, that was not your guys' best podcast." And I was like, "Look man, they're not all going to be bangers. There's going to be some downtime."
Yeah.
And then
We talked about it on the podcast.
No. 30 minutes later, Chelsea came home, and I was like, "Oh, you couldn't." And so and so called me and told me that, and she goes, "Yeah." She goes, "It was a little rough," and I was like, "Oh." And then I brought it up on the podcast, and then the podcast went live, and then
we started getting everybody's real feelings on, and now we're a little rudderless right now, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, we realized that like we were in this lull, and we went over it on that podcast.
Yeah. No, I messaged you.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I was thinking about it. I just hadn't said anything yet.
Yeah.
I was like, I was going to give it another week and see what happened or whatever, but... or whatever.
No, it's a two-sided thing. I'm really, really glad that people have told us like what the situation is.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to swallow, just because I'm a bit of a sensitive Sally, and
I know that like from the start, you guys had said like, oh, we have these conversations, we chat when we're on the road, we just want to have fun and talk, and it's a good way for us to keep up with each other and communicate. And so in the beginning, you say it all the time, like this is our therapy,
Yeah.
or whatever. And it was like therapy, but it was like truck related and all that stuff. And then I feel like, recently it was like, oh, where was this talk about the scene or trucks or anything related to like maybe why a lot of people are tuning in? Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, it's fun, especially for me where I'm like close friends with you guys. So I'm like, every week I'm having the conversation with you, but without being able to give input in the moment.
But you're just aware that maybe the conversations weren't exciting. Not exciting, but like what I explained to Frank was it's not a particular subject. You know what I mean? Like I think it's not like my backyard's boring, Frank's softball's boring. It's the fact that we weren't doing anything on top of those things.
Yeah, or it's like that there's not segments.
Yeah.
Like the personal segment, and then like okay, today we're going to also talk about, this or that. Did you see this or that or whatever?
Yeah.
I mean, those are just, that's getting in the weeds. That's stuff for...
No, that's what we're here to do, is get in the damn weeds.
Yeah, it's fun to talk about. I think honestly it's good content because these types of things happen. Not everyone has a podcast.
Yeah.
But they might have other things where they just get like on a lull of something. Maybe they're bored at work. Maybe... whatever it is, and it kind of relates to that. And I think talking about stuff like this is good.
Yeah.
Just because it makes you, like I was telling Frank, I was like, it just made me self-aware of like, okay, maybe I need to spend a little bit more time seeing what's going on, and then we can talk about that. Or taking notes, because there was like a whole subject about wheels and marketplace.
Yeah.
That I wanted to talk about, and I didn't because I didn't write them down in my notes.
Yeah, we just sort of like got to the moment, and we're like, well,
we were getting lazy to where we just
Yeah.
thought we could do it off the top of our head
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, and I feel like possibly what was starting to seep in a little bit is the like, are we just doing this to do it, and not that like we want to get down and record this week because we want to talk about X, Y,
We were
Z.
just trying to put it behind us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we got to do one this week and then I also am going to this show and I'm going to film this feature. I don't have time for this in the moment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Yeah, and that's kind of what we said. We kind of came to that conclusion of like, this doesn't need to be at the forefront of everything, but we need to put it ahead of a few things
Right.
mentally and time-wise. Spend some time preparing
Yeah.
instead of winging it.
Because like after that episode, or after this last week's episode, we were like, oh, because I was looking for wheels for my new truck, and I was like, oh, we could talk about that. We could talk about marketplace. So yeah, it's all about preparation. It's all about just putting some more effort into it. But
Yeah, I mean,
just-
people are giving you their time. Like, I'm gonna listen no matter what.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the things I listen to every Monday. But there's a lot of stuff out there to listen to, and if somebody is on their drive to work or drive home from work and they're like, this isn't
it's not what I was saying before.
Skip.
so. Anyway.
But also that's like totally fine too, because like maybe someone will be like, oh, you know what, it's getting kind of weird or whatever, and then come back later,
Yeah.
Because like we were talking a little bit about ebb and flows and stuff like that, about like the truck scene and people coming in and out of the scene. The same thing could apply to podcasts. People, I do that too. I go through cycles on podcasts. Like,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
sometimes I'm not interested in. I'm like, it's cool, and then I'll check in. I'm like, oh, this seems interesting, and then I'll get back into it.
I'll do that with all my YouTube followers. Like, I'll get into a YouTube channel, I'll get caught up, and then I'll watch it every week, and then I'll just stop watching it because what they're doing is the same thing every time. And then 6 months later, I'll kind of like revisit it.
Yeah.
And like,
And you're like, oh, this is interesting.
this
again.
is good again. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
kinda
I was
like that.
doing the same thing even with, I do it with podcasts too. Like, I'm in that right now where I'm like, all the ones I normally listen to, I'm kind of like, I'm going to let these build up and then I'll go back. But I was thinking about the same thing with kind of what you're saying, YouTube stuff, but like creators on YouTube, not just like, regular YouTube channels, but like a lot of the like show coverage, vehicle coverage and stuff like that. Like, I'll get super into someone and the way they're doing something for a long time, and then I'm like, okay, this is like, I did that with Crispy. Like, I was just like, oh, this guy's really
yeah.
good, and then was like watching his stuff all the time, and then now I like see it, and I'm like, oh yeah, he put on a new thing, Skip. Like, it's just kind of like
That is a thing.
You get in different
Yeah.
moods and
Yep.
modes.
Yeah, exactly. I recently went kind of like back and like, oh, Crispy, you're still uploading stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's really good. But that's the thing, right? It's going to be good.
Yeah.
And it's going to be this. And I got into that with show coverage stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I need to refigure this out, because if I'm getting bored of this, then
the people watching
possibly
are at that
other
point,
people are
yeah.
getting bored of this. It's the same thing all the time. And so just got to kind of constantly challenge yourself, I guess.
And I'm really glad that we're hashing this out. I'm really glad we're hashing this out. I'm really glad people like, because it's easy to say like, no, man, you're doing great. Just keep doing what you're
That's
doing.
a big
Yeah,
thing.
so I'm really
Yeah.
appreciative of everybody. And like I said in the beginning, I was a little like, but it's healthy.
Anytime someone tells you, hey man, that wasn't good, or something, or just in that space, it's sometimes it's hard to swallow, hard to take in, but at the same time, they're not saying it to be mean.
Yeah,
Right.
you want constructive criticism.
Yeah.
You want someone to tell you what they're enjoying and what they think could be better. And I feel like as well, like you were getting like personal messages, like direct messages and stuff. You weren't having people like posting on the YouTube page like, this one sucked. Next. What are these guys even doing? Like blah blah blah. Like you're not. People were kind enough to message and be like, hey, like,
Yeah, because these were.
I love this, but like,
That's what, and I feel that's what friends do. So I remember when I first started editing, I remember I put up a video one time, and Cody, I did it really late at night, and so Cody wakes up in the morning and he goes, "Hey man, take that video down." And I was like, "Dude, why?" I was like stoked on this. He goes, "No, that's not a good video.
Really?
That is terrible." And I was like, "Man, I spent a lot of time on that."
Yeah.
Like, but then he told me why it was, and then I looked at it and went, "Oh yeah, that's not good." And then I thought like that in that moment, it taught me to not rush at editing and rush at uploading. It taught me to like work through it and like get it done, go back through it, and maybe don't concentrate like on one section. If I'm having trouble, just keep going and then circle back to that section and just kind of like smooth it out or replace clips or something like that and just take time. So it's like that's how you like do that.
Yeah. It's easy to do that. I was doing like some reels recently, trying to keep up on that a little bit, and then I posted one, and I did it like I was like I want to get this done before I go to bed, like in bed, typing the caption for it, like half asleep, and then like it got like no clicks, no whatever, no likes or whatever. And Lindsay messaged me the next day and she's like, I've been trying to upload on like Wednesdays in the afternoon and sometimes on this day, and I've been noticing it's working a lot better or whatever. And I was like, I just want to get it out there or whatever.
That's how I am.
Yeah. And there's never like a good time. I've uploaded to TikTok and I was like at a perfect time and nothing, like almost nothing happened. Well, is this not even being seen? But then I've just randomly like thrown something out there real quick, not even noticing what time it was. It was like 1:30 in the morning or something.
And all of a sudden
blew up. Yeah. So I'm like, there's no rhyme or reason.
There's no rhyme or reason. And like we said before, is like there are people who really understand it, but there are very few. It's not like everybody can understand it.
And they're uploading enough content to know that what works and what doesn't, to where we're not uploading enough content to like do the homework on that.
Yeah.
So it's
or like really diving deep into the analytics like some guys do. I mean,
you guys had brought up Mr. Beast recently, and then I had seen some videos like come up that was like they tried 15 different thumbnails before they found the one that they thought was going to get the most clicks and stuff like that.
There's whole teams dedicated to that.
I mean, that's like a massive channel. So.
Yeah, and it's just us uploading stuff, trying our best.
Yeah, throwing like I did this. Like I paid someone to make a thumbnail for one of my videos just to see if that did anything.
Like someone who does that?
Yeah, like on Fiverr. Like you just go on Fiverr and type in YouTube thumbnails, and for like $10, someone will like make one for you. And I was like, I'm just gonna see if it does anything, and I don't know if it did anything
but what it did do is because like I noticed, I'm like, that's really odd.
Yeah, it was
really
different.
It was really outside of what you normally do. So I noticed, I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I don't know if I liked it or not. I like did, and then I went back and I'm like, I don't know. It was one of those where like I don't know if it's just so different that I don't, or I just have no idea.
You're just trying something out.
Yeah, well, that's all we're trying to do. Just try different things and throw it against the wall and see what happens. But, yeah, it's been an interesting week. A lot of self-reflection. Like it was interesting because, like he was saying, so we're sitting here on a Tuesday. I came out on a Monday morning, and so I get my car, I'm leaving my place, and like I get on the freeway, and I was like, the episode uploaded today. I'm gonna check it out, see what's going on while I'm stuck in traffic. And I look and I start reading. I'm like, I kind of got a little apprehensive. I'm like, but then I had like 5 hours to like really stew on it and deconstruct it. And I'm like, so as soon as I got here, we sat and we're like, okay, look, what are we gonna do? So it's been a thing. It's been a thing.
Yeah. It's a very slight adjustment, is all it is.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you had gone a long time without doing guests. I mean, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
when was the last time you were out here?
January, I think.
Yeah,
it's been a little bit.
It's been, and I think what I was telling him is if we know that this time of year is going to be slow every year that we do this, then we pre-plan guests and we have a month worth of guest episodes banked, and then we don't have to upload them all in a row. Like if me and him are not actively doing something in the scene or printing shirts or any of this stuff, like doing anything, then we just upload a guest episode.
Yeah.
And then we give it 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but in between. And then when we come back, because those last two were recorded within 3 days of each other.
Yeah. And that was the other problem. That was the other.
We did not think that through, because we were supposed to record that last one the night before, and he was like, "You want to like 7 tonight?" And I was like, "Do you have time to do it tomorrow?" And he's like, "Yeah, Mo," because I don't know what to talk about.
Because one was on a Friday, and the next one was on a Tuesday, right before I was leaving on a big trip, right before we had like a game that day, and all that. The excuse, I know they're excuses. They're excuses, but they're not necessarily excuses. They're just like the situation.
No, that's for real what happened.
Yeah, that's the situation. What happened, and we kind of got ourselves into this little thing right here. But here we are. It's all good. We're fine.
I like it. I like it. I think it's good. It's good, and it makes good content.
Yeah. Because not only is this like therapy for us now, it's all like, how do we be better at what we do? which is kind of
We
like
also blame everyone else though, like because this is obviously 99% the viewer's fault and 1% our fault, because when we ask for questions, we get the same questions.
That's
over
true.
and
Oh
over
yeah,
again.
no, I've noticed.
that is another thing too.
So it's your fault.
yeah. Thanks for asking the same questions.
Over
which
and over.
actually, if you look at these, they're going to be the same thing. No, they're a little bit different. But yes, 90 graphics are cool. Billets are all right. No.
Yeah. So what's new?
So now we're back to the exact same spot. Oh my god.
Same spot.
Actually, we should ask what's new with Will. What's
Yeah.
going on with Will?
Yeah, we can do just a quick rundown.
Yeah, like what's going.
Yeah, and the main thing is that I just wanted to make sure that I like gave a big shout out to Panda. I just got my bed back from him, the whole truck, but like he did phenomenal. I'll send you some pictures or whatever that you can
How
share,
did that experience go? Like, from kind of like we're going to talk about your bed. There's a question about the bed in there, anyways, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, how did that go from start to finish? Like, communication with him, basically, and just kind of like the back and forth way. Like, how did the design type part work?
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, I've had like a sketch that me and Nick did in the garage years and years ago that I've had like as like this is really what I want the direction of it to go. And doing the bed has been my biggest thing forever. Somebody goes, what's the next thing you want to do? I'm like, I really want to get the sheet metal done in the bed. That's really my next big step. And so I had just been like putting money aside specifically for that. And, he was just getting into that. He's been doing a lot. He did yours. So I was like, I think this is my guy. And we had kind of talked about that. And then, I've known him since way back. Like he used to be out on the surface drags and all that stuff. So I was just like, I think this is the guy. And so I hit him up and I was like, hey, I have these ideas. Are you available? And he was like, a couple months. Let's put something together. And then finally I was like, okay. I went to Forbidden, had it there in Lindsay's booth. And then it was on the trailer. And I was coming home and I was like, hey, I already have this thing on a trailer. Like, I'm borrowing this trailer. Like, could I bring it? And he was like, yeah, bring it down. I actually had somebody like who can't get here today, so it'll be perfect lined up. So dropped it off with them, kind of explained what I was looking for out of it and some of the ideas that I had seen him do in the shop and stuff like that. And I was gave him the design and was like, this is what I want, but I want you to kind of throw your own spin on it a little bit. Like, I want you to have freedom to do it, but I have an idea like this. Well, it's actually kind of in the drawing, and I have an idea like this. Actually, if you look at the drawing, it's in the drawing or whatever. Yeah. So like, he had a really good like base to start with. My idea. I'm pretty particular about stuff.
That's what I was kind of wondering, because you're particular about stuff. So yeah, like, was there anything that changed in the?
I mean, it's not an exact replica of the original drawing, but like a lot of it is there. So like one of the things is the storage. So it has storage doors that open, one that shows off the bridge, one that is like a trunk, because eventually I'm going to do audio behind the seat in the extended cab. Right. And so then I'll be able to put stuff in there like chairs, a jack, small air compressor, little things like that. And on top of that, there's like grooves, and it actually is like a mimic of the hood. Mm-hmm. So there's like bead roll, but it kind of nice. Tapers out, and it's like if you were to see like a aerial view, like a drone shot of it, it's like not a perfect mimic, but the idea is there. Yeah. Like it mimics front to back. And then I wanted to do like perforated steel inserts. Those were also, I'm like, it's kind of in the drawing actually, if you look at it there. So we did those. But yeah, overall, I'd say that communication was really good when he first got started and did a few things. Then I saw him at the Bring the Noise show, mm-hmm. and I talked his ear off for like an hour, and I was like, what about this? And I'm like, okay, now I see that you've got this far. Like, what if we did this? And I had like printouts and we were like drawing on stuff, and I felt like I was like, he's like, this guy's got to be on cocaine right now.
I saw that. Like Lindsay snapped like a little secret photo of you guys talking about it, and it looked like two guys like on a construction site looking at like plans.
Yeah, just because like for me, that's always been a thing that I get really excited about. Like, I can't weld.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I can't do, but I really always enjoy just like being in the shop or the garage or something and being like, oh, what about this? Or what if we did that? You know what I see right there? Like, what if we did that? And then you start spiraling, you know, rolling into other things. And that was kind of happening after he had shown me that stuff. So like one of the things is he gave me a bunch of cutouts of where the mesh is, the actual like pieces of the sheet metal that had come out where the mesh is, because we came up with an idea while we were there. I think Nick actually might have even been the one that brought it up, but it was like, what if I put magnets on the back of those and then I can stylize those and do that? So I could have like inserts for the bed that are like, maybe some are wrapped, maybe some are custom painted, maybe some are wrapped in leather or something like that. And I could technically like change the bed a little bit for every show I went to with
That's
these
cool
insert
idea.
pieces and stuff like that. So we'll figure out how that goes.
That's cool because you can even put like you can put a Surface logo and
Yeah.
like on a bar, like a little bar with the
Oh,
logo,
yeah, and
like
then
so
have
it's like
it-
floating and then you
yeah.
just go clink.
Yeah. It's just like, I really enjoy like,
Fast forward to me tomorrow cutting the mesh out of my bed and doing the same
Just
thing.
do the same thing.
I'm sure he could cut you the same pieces.
Did you guys ever like, because you're the very like artistic vision and he's the very mechanical vision or mechanical way to get you there. Did you ever like say like, oh, this would be really, really cool, and he's just like, no, that mechanically won't work?
No. Everything that I asked for, he was able to do.
Just did it.
Like, yeah, for pretty much the most part. There was a couple things maybe that were like the opposite of that. Like there was towards the end when he was doing some of the panels, like he was like, okay, I got these panels cut. I'm gonna do this, and I was like, what's the one with the square in the middle? And he was like, that's the tailgate. And I was like, that's not exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking more of like a mimic of the front by the cab, whatever. And then he was like, oh well, I got these cut or whatever, and whatever. And I was like, and this was at a point too where I think it was taking longer than he anticipated. And I felt that too. I even told him, I'm like, hey, I feel like you're getting to the point where you're like, I made it. Maybe I underquoted this guy and whatever. And I was like, I want to pay you, for the job that you're doing. So
and if it's something, just pay a little extra for what you want.
Yeah. So then I was like, just like, it looks like the way that it was originally in that panel. I was like, it just looks like, I don't know, I wanted it one piece, not three pieces, and it kind of looks like a license plate box. And then he replied and he goes, it's the back of a Supra. He's like, it's Supra taillights and a taillight box. He's like, yeah, I'll change it or whatever. Like, and I was like, yes, that's what it looks like or whatever. So I felt a little bit bad because he had already cut the piece or whatever. So if I was going to be slightly critical, there was a couple things he did where I was like, you should have hit me up first. Like that, and that if he was like, actually, I have an idea where I'm going to do this, I would have been like, stop in that moment or whatever. Yeah. So I just felt more bad for him. Like he was spending a little more time to have to go backwards on something like that. But
it's kind of an interesting dynamic though, is like the client and the guy working on the truck, like knowing who, because every client's different. Yeah. Like me, I'm not as critical, you know what I mean? Or as artsy or whatever, so I was just kind of like,
you're like, do whatever you want.
Yeah. And then there's some people that just are overly to where it makes like the experience difficult.
And I had opened that door. I had said like, I have this vision, I have this drawing, this rendering, these are ideas that I have, but I want you to put your panda into it. So I opened that door, and so there's nothing wrong with it. But like I said, I just more felt bad, like, oh, I used up his time in that way, and I opened that door and then I closed it in a sense. Like, and that same thing happens. Like, I've learned that with a lot of different things. Like, let's just take like design work or, graphic design or t-shirt design or something like that. And somebody says, hey, I have this design idea. I want to do this. It's like, I want a bear, with his claws out and doing this. Something kind of like this, and they give you a reference photo from the internet, and then you go, okay, cool, and then you like make something that you start to get all hyped on, and you're like, oh, this is looking so good, and doing all this stuff, and then you send it to them, and then they're like, yeah, that's neat, but like I kind of want it a little more like the drawing. And then what they're really saying is they want you to duplicate what they saw exactly for them.
Yeah,
right.
And like, in the long run, that's kind of what I ended up doing to him, which was like, I have this thing, make it like this. And then I was like, actually make it exactly that.
Yeah, because
So-
that's the vision and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it turned out so good. And he was sending me pictures of it, and everything was looking good. And then I picked it up, and when I got there, I was like, oh, this truck is so small. I had forgotten how small mini trucks are.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the way the sheet metal looked in the pictures, when you actually got to it in person, and you're like, oh, this area that all this stuff is going on now is so small, and I liked it even more. Like, it's definitely, I knew that was going to be the case, that when I saw it in person, it was the hype was going to be even more for me.
Right.
And
Well, and especially to see this thing that you have seen one way for so long to be so kind of radically different.
Yeah.
Must have been like really exciting.
yeah, and a huge thing that he did too was like, which is what he started with, was fixing the structural integrity of it.
Oh, okay.
So it's like way beefy now. Before, it had a lot of shimmy. There was, somebody else did it, to get it to a run. Originally it was a quick cut the sides out, drop the bod, drop the bed, raise the floor a little bit, and that was that. So now it's like more of a whole piece.
Yeah, and it's more like kind of getting to where your vision was heading.
Yeah, now it's feeling like the it's a big step that's making the truck feel like it's reaching more of like a completion goal, which is something that I'm trying to work on, getting it to more of a like fully completed thing.
What's your next big thing? So your big thing was the bed for a long time.
Next big thing is I need to rewire the whole truck.
Yeah.
Like, even like trying to pick it up where I couldn't get it started or whatever, and then I like reached in and just grabbed the wire harness by the battery and shook it, and then it finally started after. And that was after like 30 minutes of us like sweating and like crawling around trying to get this thing to click over.
So are you gonna take all the wiring out?
Yeah,
Or are you just
100%.
gonna
I
kinda-
have a painless style hot rod.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Rewire. So I'm just gonna take every single thing out of
You
it.
didn't
and
do
then whatever. Who knows? Probably. Honestly, having someone else do it is gonna be expensive. And then like Jeff, Snow Dragon in our club, he rewired his truck. He bought a bunch of like the stuff to do the right kind of connections and stuff like that. So he's already kind of been through it on his own. He gave me some pointers, and maybe we'll team up at some point. It just stinks. It's so hot right now. Like, even I haven't gotten to enjoy the bed, really. I picked it up. It was hot and sweaty. He was moving shops.
Yeah.
I trailered it home. I put it in the garage. My garage faces west. Like, every time I want to like go really enjoy it, it's just so hot, beating in there. So, it's 118 outside, and in the garage it's probably 140.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's I'm to that point now. On my truck, I'm waiting for the front end kit. So I'm like, there's nothing I can do. I would like to wire it and all this stuff, but there's like a lot of the wiring's already there, like because that truck was never really butchered.
Yeah.
As far as that, but then like with the new battery in the back and like I'm just not that person to wire it.
Yeah.
So I'm just like waiting to see if Tanner's going to do it or what's going to happen with that. So
my biggest thing is time and temperature. So like time, I barely have any time to work on it. I mean, what Panda just did is something that I can't do.
Yeah.
But there are other things like the wiring where I'm like, I could tackle that, but it's like, you think you're like, oh, I'll do this. I'll pull all the wires out and then I'll put stuff back in. And you think in your head, you're like 2 weekends, but that would probably turn into 5 months.
Oh
yeah. And then when that happens, like what you do from one weekend to the next, are you forgetting what you did the weekend before? And you're kind of like,
or you're just spending a whole work week thinking about
wanting
to get back to it.
Yeah. I'm so close. Like that's where I messed up on my truck, was trying to do things on my own. And then just having like 70% of the knowledge. Like I know I can do anything I want, right? Like with enough time and enough money and experience, like, or time basically. But I don't want to mess it up again. I don't want just to say I did it. I'm to that point on that truck now where I'm just like, okay, someone needs to do this. I just need to spend the money to get this thing on the road.
And also, like, starting with the bed, do you think it's better because like you could spend that 5 months rewiring the whole truck, and then you're done. That task is done and it's done right, and you're ready. But now you just have the same truck you had 5 months ago. It just so like
with good wiring that no one
right,
can
right.
tell.
So, but by doing the bed first, it sort of satisfies this like forward motion, like accomplishment. So now when you do like the more mundane task of like rewiring it and stuff, you're like, when it's done, it's still a different truck than when you started.
Yeah, the rewiring is a necessity. The bed was a goal
Right.
that I was trying to finally reach and do something with. And so, yeah, it's nice to kind of like, it's not 100% done. I'll still figure out, how I'm going to like clean up some of the like welds. How far am I going to go in that? Am I just going to seam seal? Am I going to, do bed liner, which was my original intent, but now I'm like, oh, it looks so cool how it is. Do I want to do some sort of like paint style thing, or I don't know, like, that's all the fun part again of like taking the next steps with it. But
Yeah, because it kind of gets you to the next thing where you get to decide that stuff. Like it satisfies your creative, to mess with it.
And that's where like I was saying, the second thing is temperature. Is that like I want to go stand in the garage and be creative with it and do stuff, but it's just too hot. I want to start the wiring project, but it's just too hot. And it's like, I was looking at like doing the like mini split setup, but I have a 3-car garage and I don't really have a great place to put like the part that goes outside on the side of my house. And I'm like, and then that's also like a couple $1,000s. And I'm like,
That's what's saying, like time, money, experience, all these things. It's like a math equation. And in the same way, I've been wanting to do a mini split in the garage, but then I look at it and I go, okay, actually, how much time am I going to spend out there?
Yeah.
Is it worth this? And same here. This is a bigger garage, so I got to get a bigger unit, all this stuff. But I think I would definitely want to do it eventually. I just don't know.
yeah, I'm the same way. It's like something I really want to add to my house, but yeah, it's a fair amount of money to do it
for
right.
sure.
And I don't want to like do it wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you think like, okay, if I'm going to spend that money on the AC and then the time to do it, it's like, is it better just to pay someone to do it?
I would
Yeah,
100% pay someone to do that. I remember when we had like the checklist of options on this house.
Yeah.
And like, do you want to insulate the garage? And I was like, nah. And now I'm should have done that.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not insulated in there?
No.
There's
just
no,
drywall.
I think mine's just drywall also. And then also they didn't spray the insulation above the garage.
Oh,
so my
really?
attic is all done, but above the garage they just were like,
Yeah.
but I think
that's
what you were
brutal.
saying was like the cost of
Yeah.
getting the AC unit and doing all that stuff in order to be comfortable, in order to work on the truck,
start
versus
moving the
just
truck.
taking that money and
then
like paying
going
someone to
straight
wire
to-
it.
Oh,
up.
That's what I was
got you.
saying.
Okay, yeah.
Because if you're gonna
Yeah.
spend like $2,000-3,000 on a mini split and then get this ready and do
take a
this,
truck
and then
wired.
just get it wired.
Yeah.
They go cruise.
Yeah.
No way. I'm so happy. Like, just a quick back to that. Like, I'm so happy with the work that he did. I'm so happy with him as a person and everything like that. I told him when I was dropping it off and when I was picking up, he was like my guy. I haven't had a person in a long time where I'm like, I have trust and I want to give you, payment for what you're doing for like that type of stuff. And he was my guy.
It
And
feels
he did
good
a great job.
giving him money to do stuff because stuff gets done and it's like,
And it's also he's like super
Yeah.
stoked to do it.
Yeah.
That is a big thing.
He's happy to do it. He wants to do it, and he puts that effort into it.
Yeah.
Some dudes are just like, yeah, okay, it's cost this much money, and we'll do it, and that's it. And it's like lacks that passion, kind of,
Yeah.
But
No,
Panda's
it's
full of passion.
Great experience overall. So I highly recommend him to anybody who needs anything. Give him some suspension work though. That's what he really wants to do.
Yeah.
So I think he's really getting.
he goes back and forth.
Yeah.
He goes back and forth. Well, sometimes he's like, I like doing sheet metal beds.
Yeah.
And then sometimes he's like, I want to do front suspensions work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like we were saying, I don't know when we were saying it, but we're like, we wear Panda shirts quite often on this podcast, almost like, wait, does he have something to do with this whole thing or something?
Yeah.
But no, it's just we support Panda. He's a cool dude.
Yeah. Support your friends.
Exactly. All right. Where were we at?
Anyway,
I
back
cut you
to
off, I'm
Will trailering his truck to Forbidden and
Yeah.
that experience.
sorry. Yeah, how was that for you?
That was good. That was the first time I borrowed the trailer from our friend Arlo. He's helped me out a couple times now. Let me use the trailer. I really appreciate that. But yeah, that was why I have that F-150 that I've been kind of dailying for a little over a year now. But I got that because we went to Rolling in the Red Rocks, and then I was like, I want to bring my car or truck here, and I don't want to drive either of them here.
Which actually you ended up doing at Rolling the Red Rocks. You brought your car out.
Yeah, but I trailered it.
Oh, you trailered the car too?
Yeah, he trailered
Oh,
the car.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got
So
wrapped up.
I
in
brought
what
the
was
car
doing.
on the
Oh,
trailer.
so you did fulfill what you wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah. And then the truck was still at Panda, so I was like,
Yeah, I knew that.
yeah. And I had told him like, I care more about quality work than getting it to a car show. So when he was like, it's not going to happen, I was like, cool, move on. I was like, oh, I got this car. I'll bring the car.
That's cool. Okay, so
But
you
Having a
trailered it out
backup
there.
car juiced, having a backup
Yeah.
juiced car. Jeez, man.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Oh, that's okay. We'll just leave the body drop main show. We'll just take the juice.
It was fun because it felt good to participate at that show and to do the cruise.
And you had 4 people riding in the car with you?
4 people in the car, cameras mounted to the car.
Lindsay lost her glasses.
Lindsay lost her glasses.
That was hilarious.
But yeah, it was a good experience. Like, I had never, Forbidden was the first time that I trailered anything. And
Really? Oh, really?
Yeah. And so that was a good experience. It was fun. It was nice to have my truck at the show, even though not much had changed at that point. Like, I had a good spot between your booth and my sister's booth, and just felt good. It was nice to come around the corner a couple times throughout the show and to see it there.
Yeah,
or
it was
whatever.
cool.
So
It looked real good out there.
yeah, it felt good. It was like, I'm not on the grass, but I got a good spot, and I felt
Same
it
here.
feels good. So yeah,
Yeah, we're working our way up there.
Yeah. So,
That's a guy who throws a show.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm not parking on the grass
I know.
until I'm ready to park on the
yeah,
grass.
I don't want to just be on the grass just
Yeah.
because.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, yeah, someday I'll be on the grass.
We talked about this with Ben, and I don't know when this podcast is coming out versus Ben's, but
Yeah.
how Ben drives his truck to these shows, and he was like, he's like, yeah, that's weird that people think that that's cool, and I'm like, yeah, we think it's cool, but then we're like, we're not going to do that.
Yeah. So is he like, I hate doing this? Like, I hate driving it?
No, he's the complete opposite. He
Yeah.
loves driving his
Yeah.
truck, and he'll go anywhere. And but I don't know. We kind of like got in this spot in our whole lives, because I'm the same way. I'd rather trailer my truck.
Yeah.
I was explaining that podcast. Like, mine came from a different place. It came from a place of 2 things. One, all my trucks are pieces of junk, and I can't drive them like out to the river from my house. So we'll trailer them out there. And 2, maybe this was just convincing myself, but I was like, we can go there, we can thrash on it, we could drag it and put it on the trailer and go home, and know that we're gonna make it home. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like a worry thing about getting stuck somewhere most of
Now,
the time.
knowing that there's really no, besides mini nats, really, where you can get out there and kind of beat on it, there's no shows where you're beating on them anymore.
Yeah, I know that. So that's changed. You know,
Yeah,
now
so that dynamic's changing. Like, you drove it to Chubb's,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, you really like driving. You're just getting the heat, the carpet fixed
Yeah.
to where the
Yeah.
heat thing is. And I remember like when I did that hard body, and I was like, I had all these plans in my head, right? Because I hadn't driven a standard cab manual truck in a long time. Everything I like, cruise control, like all these,
Yeah.
right.
these things that were like, I was stoked that the hard body had AC. I was like, this is gonna be enough. That's all I need.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I can drive this to Rolling in the Red Rocks. I was like, I'm going to drive this to Mini Nats. Like, just these crazy, like,
Yeah.
this kind of crazy things. And then I drove it an hour and a half to cruise to the Pines, and I was like, nope.
Yeah.
My leg was just like, I was going to fall off because no cruise control. I just
Yeah.
constantly on.
That's how I drove the 4Runner out here one time, and my knee hurt. I feel like such a little wuss. I'm like, oh, my knee hurts.
yeah.
You get older, you just get acclimated to comfort and less worry. And
Well, especially with you, like, you know, you bring your wife and kid with you, and it's just more comfortable and just makes the whole experience better. You know?
yeah. And then I don't knock anybody who does the opposite. Like, I won't call somebody a trailer queen, and I also won't say, like, oh, why are you driving that? Like,
It is
why
funny
are you
how
wasting your time? Like,
It is funny how we have these terms to judge other people, what they do, that has
Yeah.
no effect on our lives at all.
You know what it's like? And I know what you're thinking of. Like, well, what I'm thinking of is like, you see that, I won't say who specifically does it, but you see it like the drive your shit stickers, like, and that mentality. It goes back to what we've always been saying for the past little bit is you're just justifying your decision. Like, you decided to drive your truck, and yeah, maybe it's a little uncomfortable sometimes, but now you're gonna say like, oh, drive my shit. You don't drive your shit, I drive my shit. It's like, you know, you're making yourself feel better.
Yeah,
I feel like, though, a lot of people, they do feel good about that. If you're going to make that decision, I think, like, it's probably a very narrow window of people who are like, I just have to do it. I'm a hardcore mini trucker. Like, that's like, it's just wrong. I mean, because I feel that way with certain stuff, too. Like, you shouldn't have a visible pinch mold
or driving too high.
Yeah, exactly. There are certain things where you're like, isn't that what it means to like be a mini trucker?
Yeah.
And so I feel like when someone is that way, that's just what makes them feel right inside and what makes them feel good. And there a lot of people are just like, hey, whatever, I'm mechanically inclined. If something goes wrong, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. That's usually
And
what
that's
it
kind
is.
of what when we were talking to Ben, like the conclusion we came to. It's like, you'll just, if something happens, it happens, and you take care of it, and then you make it happen, and you get it done. You
Yeah.
know, So again, it's just justifying those decisions. You're just that's all you're trying to do.
And it's also one of those things where when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, driving my trucks out to Parker, you know, just as fast as I could, as low as I could, just going through the dips, didn't matter, like whatever, 3 people wide in a standard cab truck one time, like 3.5 hours to the river.
Yeah.
Thinking about doing that now,
It's unfathomable.
it's unfathomable. And it's also one of those things where back then I didn't think about breaking down.
Right. Oh,
and
yeah.
time wasn't a thing. Now it's Sunday morning. I just want to get home. I don't want to worry about breaking down, because if I break down, it ruins everything.
Yeah, or like you're just in a different position in your life, but you're also in a different position in like your responsibilities as well. So like if I'm 18 and the truck breaks down and I was supposed to go to work tomorrow, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll call in. Yeah, that's like a problem. That's somebody else's problem, whatever. Where like now I'm the general manager of a business. I have people underneath me, and like I can't just be like, whatever. I'll call in.
Back
like,
in the day, you could quit your job to go to a show.
Yeah.
I remember
It
they're
is-
like, yeah, you can't go this week. And I was like, oh, no, here's the thing.
Yeah, I'm going.
I'm going. So that now it's the ball's back in your court.
Right.
Do you want me to come back here on Monday, or do you not want me to come back?
Look,
here?
I'm not coming here. Either
my
you're
last
giving me
day
the
is
day off or
Wednesday.
I'm calling out.
Yeah.
I never got to experience that just because I work for my family. So it was a little different situation. Same thing though. Like, yeah, definitely. Like,
You still worked for me. Still had to.
Yeah, I still had to be there and stuff. But yeah, no, I totally get that mentality, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, just being kind of careless.
Yeah.
Careless with everything. Careless with your time. Careless with your vehicle.
Yeah.
Careless with you. Just knowing everything will be all right.
Yeah.
Now, will it be all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have more life experience, so you have more things to worry about.
What's your now with this newfound? I'm trailering my vehicle to shows.
The bed's like
The bed's getting there. Like,
Yeah.
what's your? Are you thinking still going to mini nats next year?
I want to.
It's gonna come up fast.
I know. That's the problem. Like, it's still a goal. So originally I was like, I'll take my thing to Panda. Panda took it the day after Forbidden, and then he was like, I'm thinking like a month and a half, whatever. And then that turned into a few months, and which made sense. Like it was rough estimate, and then what was really happening, especially with everything I was asking for, and. So I'm like, okay. But then when I got it back, it's the dead of summer. And then I'm like, originally I was going to get it. I was going to get it back. I was going to start the wiring before summer really kicked in. And then I was going to do this and that. And there was some like body stuff I wanted to change and like clean up and do this. And now I'm like, it's so hot. I'm going to probably not even be able to really touch this thing for like to maybe start the wiring until
September.
late September, October, maybe.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it'll get busy with the holidays and I'll be doing all kinds of other stuff. And
And then all of a sudden it's January and you're like, I have 3 months to get this done.
Yeah, I went through that same kind of realization with my truck, because I was like, okay, 2025, I want to take my truck running, driving, done.
Yeah.
I want it painted. I want the interior done. It's not going to be a show truck. It's just going to be nice. But then I go, wait, it's this time last year is when I started it to get it ready for just to get it to our
Forbidden.
30th.
Oh,
Yeah.
to the 30th. Oh, yeah, that's
it
right.
was
Yeah.
July. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, and now I'm looking at a year later, and yeah, don't get me wrong, it's gone.
It's made a lot of
It was
progress.
just an axle last July.
Yeah.
Like-
It's super cool. Also, when I got here, the garage was open.
Yeah.
And I walked by to go to the front door and I was like, I went and took a peek because I saw you had the bed off.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really
Yeah, me
seen
neither. Yeah, me
everything
neither.
that you had going on there. And I was just like, mini trucks are so cool. They're so cool. Like, they're just so cool. Like, just
Yeah.
seeing, like, the tube work that was back there. And then you've got everything, like, nice, that satin black look to it and everything right now. It's just like, mini trucks are so cool.
Yeah. Getting that, I get those little feelings too. Like,
It's like it's almost like a little butterfly in your stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is almost that feeling of like, there's always those feelings of like, okay, I'm older, I'm doing these things at work, and it's just different. But then you see a cool mini truck, and you're just like,
Yeah.
like remember when you came over and you rode in the Nissan?
yeah. Oh, yeah. And it was like, just like ecstatic. It was so cool.
When I drove that, when I went to buy that truck, again, it had been a long time since I'd driven a manual standard cab mini truck, and when I got in that truck to test drive it, I like reverted right back to my mini truck days from back, because I've always had standard cab trucks. So I was just like, oh, I'm in I'm 20 years old again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
I know. I got that way when I brought my truck out for Cruise of the Pines.
Yeah.
Like it was, and you also had the same kind of like reaction. You know, it sits in the garage lot. I don't see it much, and then I drive it. I bring it out here and get off the trailer. We go thing, and even like Brian was like, "This is like a really nice truck," and I was like,
Yeah, I think I
know.
wa-
I forget this is
Yeah.
a really nice
Yeah,
truck.
like I walked out to the front and it was just parked out there, laid out. And I'm all, this seems sick.
it's actually
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something too about like just seeing stuff, a picture on your phone, and then when you like see it in person, and it just gives you a different feeling.
Yeah.
Or like you said, like even like we were just sitting out there talking to Ben, you know, kind of like finishing up and everything. And you're just sitting there and you just glance at it and you just see like one thing that stood out to me is I just looked down and you see the inner fender, the front fender's all finished and it's just like
Flat
on the ground.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, same thing, like sick.
That's like one of my favorite
Yeah.
parts about that truck.
Yeah, it
It's
looks
like,
really cool. And the hardware he used too, like
Yeah.
real clean hardware and everything.
Yeah.
So
I'm big on hardware. I'm big on finish work. Like, it doesn't have to be it has to be like perfectly like body panels like lined
Yeah.
up and stuff. But like, if I see like a Phillips head screw that doesn't need to be a Phillips head screw, then take the extra little effort and do something else with it. Type
Yeah.
thing. Like I have C10s and stuff like these $200,000 trucks. You walk up to the corner lights and I'm like, it looks like a wood screw.
yeah, I know. I was just about to say that big old fat head.
And the head of the screw's not even like nice, and it's just flat and sticking
Yeah.
up past like the corner lights like this, and the screws like this. I'm all,
Oliver.
Oh, I wasn't even saying nothing.
He knows. He knows. I'm
calling him out.
Jeez.
Let's see if he's listening.
Oh, he's listening.
Yeah.
Probably. I think he commented that he wanted another round too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Oh
he
yeah,
does.
his was gonna be good.
Yeah, we still have like a few things to talk about with him.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
Even Nick, we're like, yeah, we'll be back. I was like, but we have to do Will like 4 more times.
Yeah, I know. And then we'll get back to Will, and then maybe we'll do a Lindsay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lindsay.
Sorry, Lindsay.
Yeah, she's like, I want to do one where it's not midnight before we leave for a show.
That we talked
Yeah.
about that on Ben's too. We just like, yes. I was like, she rolled up, and I was like, it doesn't matter what time it is. We have to do this because we didn't have a banked one. Mm-hmm. Like this is it.
Like that we met up on a Sunday, and we're rolling out the next day, and we're like, it has to go up.
Yeah.
It actually had to go up on my channel, and we had to log into my YouTube and upload it
Yeah.
and everything. Yeah, it was an interesting one, but that was a fun one. It was really cool, you know,
Yeah.
talking to her, getting her. Well, like you should talk more about her brand and stuff and everything, but we would like to kind of circle back and maybe talk about like the surface
Like
stuff.
Lindsay
'cause-
Yeah,
a little
and just whatever too. Like I know she wants like I was like, oh, I just want to do one where like I just go and we're just BSing and we're talking. I don't really want to talk about
It's-
myself, even
yeah.
though we've been doing that for like 20 minutes. But
okay.
like,
no, but we're not talking. We're not like Will.
Yeah, no, I
Tell us about your first vehicle and blah blah blah.
What do you
Like,
want
we
to
knew
talk
that.
about? What do you want to talk about? Softball?
Yeah.
No.
So anyway, my kid. No.
which congratulations to your kid.
Oh,
though.
thank
Like,
you,
for
thank
real.
you,
Like
thank
yeah,
you.
that's great. It was exciting. You know, in your Instagram stories.
Which is funny because like I was all okay. Look, I'm gonna kind of get into the weeds about this, but in actual fact, I barely because I came here and we talked and we got into very minute detail about everything that happened. And I was like, it could have been way worse.
Yeah, we could have went another 30 minutes.
Yeah, just talking about like different.
But it is
things.
awesome to see the excitement.
Yeah,
you know
no,
what I mean?
absolutely.
Like, it's cool.
Yeah. Hey, and it's part of our lives. Like things
is.
happen in our lives, and
Yes.
was one of the things that was going on.
Yes.
But we won't talk about that.
back
Trucks.
to Ben's truck.
Back to Ben's truck.
One of the things that I like about that truck, well, he's changing the wheels all the time, but I really like when people do like Euro or in-point style wheels. Like he has those like BBS styles. I don't know if they're actually.
I think they're
BBS,
Acura
but-
wheels or something. They're like a stock wheel off of something.
He has the ones like in the picture that you posted, not the wheels that are on it right now, but he had the
In
white
the
mesh
white mesh
centers
wheels.
with the like
Honestly, I think
aluminum
those are
lips.
like- oh, maybe I could be wrong, but I thought they were stock.
And
wheels
then
off of something. Ben, tell us what.
and then he has like the Toyota logo in the front is pink, and then he has like the pink tint on the headlights, which I did the purple tint on mine recently, and it's like he's just like bringing in some stuff from different styles that I really like. You know, you brought it up earlier when we're like the same questions all the time, like you know 80s 90s paint and billet wheels and stuff like that, and it's like there are like guidelines sometimes, and like you know I need to get wheels for my truck. Let me look at Raceline
intro,
whatever,
Void,
and like
yeah.
you only have like those options, which work great. That's.
But when you go outside of
But then
the boundaries type thing,
there's so many wheels out there. Like I'll just come across wheel companies that have like the most unique looking weird stuff. I'm like, someone should put this on a mini truck. Someone should put this on a small Toyota or something like that. So
did Nick talk to you about the wheel stuff he's doing?
Yeah. Did he talk about that?
He
on his
announced
thing?
it on the thing. Yeah, pretty much.
Well, are you gonna do his
Is
before mine
his-
before I start talking about it?
yeah.
Like,
Oh, I don't know.
We don't know.
Whatever.
We don't know. We're gonna have to put Nick's out.
Nick's will just be next, and then
Nick's.
it makes more sense probably to do somebody that's not me first.
That's true. That
very
pushes you
true.
back a little bit.
So I'm going to
very
force
true.
you to talk about or have Nick's, and then that will also force anyone who didn't listen to Nick's to go back and
go
listen.
back and listen to Nick's.
But yeah, he called me recently, or no, he sent me pictures of these billet wheels, and I was like, instantly I recognized the wheels as wheels that he had like drawn and designed for himself like years ago, and that he was always trying to get somebody to make, and like he's like, I want to sell these to a wheel company, not because I want money, but I want someone to make these wheels or whatever. So he sends me pictures of these wheels that are photographs of these wheels,
On
and I
actual
was like,
trucks.
you finally got it figured out, or somebody stole your stuff? And he goes, let me call you. So yeah, and then he called me and he was like explaining, he's like, these dudes are doing it. They didn't even know
Yeah.
that
It's a wild
whatever.
story.
They had kind of tried to reach out and find somebody, but it like through this person, that person.
Actually,
over
he didn't.
time.
He didn't
did
really
not
go into this
mention
much detail.
all this detail.
Oh really?
No,
Yeah, not on the podcast.
privately he did. Publicly, he did.
Okay, well I don't know, but he had he had come across all this different stuff, and then he was like,
It ended up working out in Nick, like in a good way.
yeah,
Yeah.
So I saw him last weekend or the weekend before. We went to the art museum. Everyone should go to museums. Also, I've been going to a lot of museums lately. When we went to Cali, we went to
I saw the Peterson.
the Broad. We went to the Peterson. Oh wait, quick, just shout out to the Peterson Automotive Museum. I never been there before. We were gonna go anyway, just because we wanted to do a LA trip and hit some of the museums. And currently is the lowrider stuff. And I have never seen such like a perfect setup, like museum curated, like everything at this exhibit is perfect. And I'm not just talking about the lowriders that are there, which are all perfect.
Just the way that it's.
But like the way that they just have each part staged, and the way that some of them are on platforms and some of them aren't, and some of them are, so close that you would feel like you would want to touch them, but you're in a museum and everybody's really respectful. And the thing I think that we noticed the most, me and Lindsay, when we were taking pictures and stuff there, was that the museum lighting, like a lighting team for a museum, lit
imagine
these
that.
cars.
Yeah.
So like there's no bad angle. Everything you want to see out of the paint is like perfectly lit. It was like $25 to go. Even when you walk in the lobby, there's like 10 cars in the lobby. You don't even have to pay to go in the museum. But yeah, if you're in California or you want to you're thinking about taking a trip to go see this exhibit, it runs through next
I've
year.
never been to the Peterson Museum.
I've never been to the Peterson
Never.
either.
You should go. I mean, you're like,
I know. I'm like
so
Mr.
close.
LA guy.
Yeah.
Like, you will not be disappointed on
I've
any
been,
level.
The videos you guys made were incredible. Just like the little reels and stuff you guys put together.
I wonder if I'm gonna look and see what the time frame that's running through.
It's running through 2025.
Oh, so when you come out for the
for
game,
the
we'll dip down there.
because we're gonna go to LA for a Dodger game. So I'll
That'd
come
be
out
cool.
and maybe we'll do like a day there.
Yeah.
And then,
It was so good that like we were on that was part of our vacation, but I would recommend someone who was like thinking about it, like take a weekend, just go there. It's worth
it's worth.
I drive 8 hours
there.
just to go to this museum.
So
for
is
this
it
exhibit, just for this exhibit.
Is it also more like a trip through history of lowriding and like these iconic lowriders?
Yeah.
I know they got like Gypsy Rose. They got the Vegas. Was that a Monte Carlo? I think it's a Monte Carlo.
Is it like a
Lincoln?
time-
No, it's a Lincoln.
Is it like a timeline?
Oh, the one that's all like gambling style,
uh-huh.
like that. Yeah. It's like a history of it, but it's not, because you can just walk any part of it. You don't have to like start at the beginning and then like work your way through. But it's there's like a history to it. Like if you were to go one direction around it, there's like Gypsy Rose, and then like behind Gypsy Rose is a vehicle that like the the specific thing that they're trying to show you on that is about engraving. And
okay.
there's like a video playing on the wall about engraving and stuff like that. And then you move on to another part, and it's the focus is on like hopping. And then another part is on like the Vegas one, where it's like
basically all the
how
aspects.
wild things can get and stuff like
so
that.
all the aspects, what makes lowriding.
Yeah, there's a whole section of just lowrider bikes. There's a whole
cool.
section of lowrider art, like paintings, drawings, different things like that.
Do you remember that magazine, Lowrider Art Magazine, or Lowrider Art Day Magazine?
Yeah,
dude, that was
Yeah.
killer. That was such a killer magazine.
yeah, it was great. So, shout out to Peterson Museum. Like, I can't.
I've always heard
stress
that
enough.
all of their exhibits are pretty.
I always felt bad
Good.
for not going.
Yeah.
And this last time we went to California, we went to the museum, Science Museum. Mm-hmm. Have you ever been to that one?
Not there. Here I have. But
Here
not
you
there.
have. That one in California is insane. And they have the shuttle in there, and they just stood the shuttle up. So we saw the shuttle when it was
Oh, like the
this.
Endeavor.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so now what they did is they brought the original fuel tanks in, and they actually stand it up like it's on.
That
Like
thing must be
like it's
massive.
on.
crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, and then you can go up the stairs at these elevators and come out on the thing.
Oh, wow.
And see it in different levels.
I remember because I think they did like a tour with Endeavor after they had retired, and I remember anybody from Arizona might remember this, but the Arizona State Fair one year, it was like at the entrances, like you walked under it, like through the gates under it. It's massive.
Oh wow. Yeah, that it's all those museums, like you said, go to museums and stuff. Like those ones out there in California, where there's the Science Museum, the History Museum, the Peterson. They're opening up a new modern one right next to the Science Museum, and they're amazing. A lot of them are free.
Yeah, we went to like our goal was like because we had gone to Universal and stuff the year prior, and then I was like, "Get me out of LA!" I was like, "Get me out of here!" And then I was like, I had my enough LA for a few years. But
Yeah.
then I was like, actually, we had ended up at the La Brea Tar Pits when we were just like out driving around one night. And that's where
That's a
the
history
LACMA is,
Yeah.
their museum of like modern art. And then Peterson's right across the street.
Yeah.
And then there's also the Museum of Motion Picture, which also go to that one. We almost didn't go. And then we ended up going. And I was like... instantly I was like, I love movies. This, like, it made you want to go film something. There was tons of cool stuff there too. But we were going to go to Peterson for sure and the LACMA. And then I had looked up I came across the Broad, which is downtown. And I was like, oh, it's free. Like, you just sign up for a time because it gets busy. And then we went to that one. And I'm so glad we went to that one. It had such cool stuff.
Which one is that?
It's downtown. It's called the Broad, and it's like basically these like rich philanthropists who like have built huge art collection or had other art collectors and stuff, and then they like offer it up for free for the people. But it had like original Warhols and like the dude who makes all the giant chrome balloon animals.
Oh yeah,
And like all that stuff, and it was just a really good vibe at that museum as well because you could kind of like get close to stuff and like check it out, and they had like museum attendees there, and they kind of were like hanging out or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when we were at LACMA, it was like a little bit more of like a traditional museum, and they were like following you around like you were gonna like steal the art or something, like whatever. But yeah, that's a good one too.
that's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. I definitely want to check out that lowrider. Lowriding was like a big part of my like formative years in the whole like automotive culture scene. So like I do know a lot about lowriding. I never participated because like I was kind of like turned away from participating.
Yeah.
Like one of those like you don't want none of this kid. you know.
Someone
No,
turned.
you'll
Yeah.
love
So
it.
yeah, like I was hanging around with a couple lowrider clubs, and they kind of like very politely but very forceful, not like sternly, were like, look, this isn't for you. You need
Yeah.
to do something else. So
It's also cool just to see that it is featured at that museum.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you always wonder what else is going to be featured there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, low riding is just this small thing.
someone asked a question on one of our question and answer things that asked, do we think that mini trucks will ever make it in there like that? It was a
Like
good
in the
question.
Peterson
Like in the
Museum?
Peterson Museum as like one of those displays or like one of those.
I feel like the mini truck scene has stuff that would be worthy of that, but the culture itself is nowhere near the scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even the best mini truck ever built
is not
is
as good as
still there's still 100 lowriders that could match it or better.
Yeah.
Like that's just like when you go, especially to this where they have like some of the best, you're just like, you can't fathom what you're looking at. And then a lot of them some of them are drivers, but there's a lot of them where they're just like, this is a pure art piece. This is not meant to.
El Rey there? It's a 63 Impala.
I don't remember. The one that really stood out to me where I kept going back to it was, oh, man, I forget what it's called. It's blue. Everything is like chromed on it. It has like the guy's like kids are painted all over it. Like the kids are painted on the headlights.
Oh.
Like the windows are etched with photos of the kids, like etched into the windows and stuff
I'm not
like
familiar
that.
with that one, but it sounds awesome.
I forget what it's called. I apologize.
Yeah, and that's like just the culture of it all. Like where they're in the mini trucking thing, it's like, what would, you know what I mean? Like you can't do murals like that in the mini trucking. It's almost like you can, but it doesn't ever really get taken seriously almost.
But you could have a lowrider like mini truck. There's actually one in the lobby right now.
No, so there is a mini truck
yeah.
there. Yeah, that's what I meant. Like, you know, not mini truck in the sense of exactly what we do, just mini trucks in general. It could be a 90s tilt bed mini truck that represents
I'm pretty sure
that moment in time.
It was a Mazda or a Nissan that's in the lobby.
Okay.
That's like top cut off, like stereo in the bed, like that type of vibe. So
very fresh prints.
But the one that I was talking about, which I unfortunately can't remember the name of, but in the like description for it, they talk about that like he's maxed out on lowrider of the year. He can't win it anymore with that car. Like he won in like 18, 19, and then 21. Like skipped a year, but like won for the same car. Three.
Maybe
that
that also could be the car that I'm talking about. El Rey probably fits that thing too, because that's another it's a static piece of art.
Yeah.
You know, where like the rotors are engraved. Like you're not stepping on the brakes on this thing and scuffing up these rotors. But to talk about that culture thing about how it is like a different thing. Like lowrider culture is much different because it's like generational. And we were talking about it with Ben. Like our scene, if you really think about it, is only 40-ish years old at most. You know. And the lowrider scene goes back decades, and they're like literal, you know, generations of families. Like these lowriders, it's not just some dude is like, man, I'm going to build a 60. I mean, there are, but like the really well-known ones are like, this 64 has been in my family for 50 years, and my grandpa had it, and then my uncle had it, and then everybody did it, and now it's this thing, and then it just remains and it keeps on going on. So that when you're saying that the mini truck scene lacks that kind of deep culture, I think that's sort of like what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying that it like lacks the culture. I just mean, well, in that sense that it doesn't have it's just a numbers thing. There's just
there's simply just not a lot of mini trucks.
Not a lot of mini trucks.
Yeah, and then the I don't know. I feel like I never see like under construction lowriders.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? True. Like they're obviously they're out there, but they won't. There's like a different level you have to be at to even be like.
Yeah, do you think they just take
right?
they take him more seriously? Like the shows more seriously, the finishing the vehicle more seriously type thing? Yeah.
Which is weird because then you talk to... So we're talking about this lowrider scene like from a complete outsider's perspective. We're not in this. But then you talk to a dude named Carlos... Or not named Carlos. You talk to a dude like Carlos who's very inundated into the scene. I don't know.
You talk to some Carlos off the street. He must be in the lowriders.
And he's not Mexican. Yeah. Anyway, when you talk to Carlos and you get his perspective on the scene, it's completely different. Yeah. It's almost like the mini truck scene where you got like, you know, all sorts of political stuff going on.
Oh, there's definitely a ton of politics in the lowrider community.
And there's like kind of even more if you think about it.
Way more.
That's why it's almost like scary to me. Like there's stuff where like I like going to those events, but I would never have anything to me that would feel like on that level.
Yeah.
To do, you know, to join in there. I was watching, I shared it on the Surface page, but they did a thing in San Diego that was like Cars by the Bay or something like that. And it looked like it was mostly lowriders. It was a pretty good lowrider scene out there.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, I want to go there. I want to park that close to the water. But like, those look like really nice. Some looks really nice.
Have your 720 down there just chilling.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
No, but I definitely admire that scene. I love it. I like growing up. That's how I got into this whole like that's how like it was my introduction to custom cars was lowriders and stuff. And I used to get Lowrider magazine every month. And like my kind of thing is like when everybody was putting up like posters of like Jordan and stuff, I was putting up that month's center center folder like Lowrider of the year. Like that's sort of my youth.
I was putting up Lowrider Euro pictures in the garage because I was like on that like precipice of that style.
I don't maybe this is since you were an avid Euro reader, like it's always bugged me like what's Euro about those cars? They're a bunch of Japanese cars.
Euro tails.
No, it was Euro body kits. It was the body kit.
Oh, it was the body kit. Yeah, I think I asked Carlos. Oh yeah, Carlos did tell us that. Thanks, Carlos. That guy named Carlos.
Yeah, just ask any Carlos, and they have the answers to everything.
Just go up to a random Carlos, be like, "Hey, what's Lowrider Euro all about?" And he's like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't invent it, but
yeah,
it had. I was building a import type car at that Fast and Furious era, and that was what was in there. It was cool. I still remember there was a Civic. That it was like Civic hatch, like a 94. It was called like 007 something. And he had like where like the license plate in the back would like flip down and like it had like all these lights to blind the person behind you. And then it had stuff where like it would like had like the oil slicks like would shoot out like a James Bond car.
This is in a magazine?
This was in, I think, Lowrider Euro. It was like a yellow. It was yellow, golden yellow.
This goes back to the music stuff that we've talked about, music videos with mini trucks in it or songs about mini trucks. When you a lowrider, like a convertible 63, whatever it is, right, on wire wheels, rolling through the neighborhood with 4 dudes in it. It's so gangster.
Yeah,
2 dudes driving in a mini truck or a Honda Civic hatchback is not intimidating, right? No. If a lowrider drove down my street with a bunch of dudes with tattoos. And then, like, they just looked at me. I'd be like, "Oh, that's serious."
Yeah.
But if 2 dudes in like a Toyota, like a '91, like Ben and Frank drove by, right, in Ben's truck, I would be like,
looking all hard.
Looking at me all hard. I'm all, get out of here. You know what I mean?
That's
like
hilarious. Well, change the situation. Put the same 4 dudes from the lowrider. What about like in a dually, like a big dually laid out?
Yeah, I think maybe it's
like,
just the big presence,
bigness,
and that's when it comes like you were saying about that Civic. It's like they're taking this like gangster mentality, almost this like, and they're putting it in this little car, in this little truck
with a little motor,
with the little thing, and it's not aggressive, and it's like a toy.
I definitely think it's the size thing because like you'll see like somebody in like an old 60s or 70s like just big body car that's like not like in the lowrider direction but just like old, maybe kind of like dumped on like stock steelies or something like that, but there's like 4 people rolling in it, like guy and his girlfriend's in the middle and then like their buddy in the back seat or something like that, and it's just like huge windows. Like I saw something like that recently driving to work and I was just like, oh, it looks so cool. Like there's so much space to go have an adventure is kind of what it feels like.
Yeah. Like a Lincoln, like what was that show that they had on HBO with the guy that was Entourage.
Oh.
And so the intro to the Entourage was that Lincoln, and they rolled up and it's a top view down and they all get out like like that, right? And then they shut the doors and that's it. So imagine that, like they're coming up in like a Corolla or a Civic, right? And it's like all the doors open and they slam the doors. It's like ting 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 ting. You know?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's got to be like an attitude thing of also the people in it, because like I don't know if you're familiar with the Rancid video Salvation when they're cruising around in that 63 Nova. Like that's a small car, but they look tough as shit in that car.
It is. But man, like remember Don Toretto in the Civic when he's in the very first Fast and Furious, when he's at the end scene when they're robbing the diesel truck, and he's just like, oh, and he's this huge dude and he's like shifting and the whole car's moving. He's like, rah, rah, and it's like the seats like, it's just funny. Yeah. It's like, it's different. If he was in like a Camaro or a Charger, like it would be, like his Charger like was fitting, you know. And Paul Walker with the Supra was more fitting out of it.
Did you find yourself also like really into like the Super Street stuff?
Yeah, Super Street, Pazmag.
That early 2000s Fast and the Furious racing stuff. Like
that when Fast and Furious came out, I was so excited.
Yeah, that's what got me into cars.
Yeah,
I mean, I said that when I was on before, but like that's what got me into cars, and then it just kind of spread.
Have you seen all the Fast and Furiouses?
I have not. I stopped at the one where the tunnels from Mexico and they're driving through the tunnels.
Said.
That's the one I stopped at. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
I was watching that and I was like, the writing in this movie is absolutely horrible. It's like they just leaned on the action
Yeah.
and the writing. I was like, it's just so it's so bad. If you ever go back, watch that one and don't pay attention to anything else except what they're saying and like the storyline and stuff. And you're just
Doesn't
like,
even matter.
no, it's so bad.
I stopped at Tokyo Drift. I think that was the second one. Wasn't
Tokyo
it?
Drift is the third one.
Yeah.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
Oh, that's
Miami
yeah.
is the second
Oh, yeah,
one.
that's right.
Yeah, that one. Everyone's like,
That's
And,
Ejecto
that one I
Ceto
didn't-
cuts,
that's
right?
Ejecto Ceto, yeah.
Ejecto
The
Ceto.
only reason that one threw me for the loop is because of the Eclipse. Like, it's a front wheel. That was a front wheel drive Eclipse, and it's like it wasn't even like the cool all wheel drive Eclipse. You know what I mean? And it was just like, that's not a fast car. It's just not.
You're
It's
talking
just-
about the green one.
No, I'm talking about the convertible one in Too Fast, Too Furious.
Oh, huh. Oh, yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, nah, this is bad.
Yeah, I mean,
There's just so
it was
many-
just for, it's entertainment.
It is entertainment, but at least it's one of those things. Do some research and like
Yeah,
take
but
the
it's
Eclipse
not
out,
Hollywood.
or I know, but you just like just do it. It's not hard
Yeah.
to replace that Eclipse with a GSX, which was all-wheel drive, which was actually fast,
Well, they could have just put a GSX
They
badge
could've.
on it for you.
and then it wouldn't have been a convertible. I guess so. That's the thing.
Yeah. There's I mean, you could talk for hours. Like, there is actually a podcast where these dudes, like, went down and they broke down each movie and stuff.
Really?
Like yeah, there's this one thing where they're, like, in the very beginning opening scene of the very first Fast and Furious, when they're lining up to do this drag race, and the two girls run across the thing with the spray paint and put a line right behind the line that's already painted on the streams.
Or when the Del Sol pulls up and lets the air out, but it's a hydraulic sound.
Oh, yeah.
That's going up,
There's
and you're
so
like,
many.
I also keep seeing one that's going around lately where they were like, it's the scene, and somebody's there, and I think it's Paul Walker, maybe even. And he pulls out a camera to take a picture of the car, and he's got like a
I think I said
70
that.
millimeter
Yeah,
long
yeah,
lens, and he's like 5 feet from the car, and it's just like
Yeah.
that shot
There's
would,
no-
that was a
yeah.
garbage photo. There's no way that was a good photo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's just the
It's all part of the
Hollywood
fun of it.
Hollywood
Yeah.
meeting, like, the automotive.
But then
world.
they went a different direction. Like, people love those movies, and I feel like if you were around for the first couple, it was about the cars in a different way, and like that was like what you're nostalgic for. And then if you're, maybe a younger person who came into the middle of the series or something like that, like they're just action movies to you.
yeah, that's what they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's like when money gets involved with anything, it just ruins it.
Yeah.
When there's big investment companies and when they saw that there was so much return on that first one,
Just do it again.
they're like,
Do it
"No."
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it again. Do it again. Let's see how far we can push this. Because and then did you know that there was like short films about those? You can find them on YouTube. So you remember
So in between the movies.
in between the movies. So
Oh,
at the
really?
end of the first one, when Dom leaves, there's a short film that's like 12 minutes long of where he went.
Oh, okay. They did that with
Wasn't that just a
Matrix.
post-credit scene? No?
They did that with the Matrix too. They have like a lot of like filler little stories to.
I need to go back and
make
watch
them
The
make
Matrix.
sense. One of my favorite things to do, and this is kind of interesting. Now we're going off the rails. Now we've lost everybody.
It's okay.
Well, we haven't got there yet, so let's get off the
Because-
rails, and then I'll tell you if you went off the rails.
Okay, let's get off the rails a little bit because, like, you guys watched Nope, and like you guys are like, this is so amazing, and I feel so stupid. I watched them all. I don't get it. So like now, and I do this all the time. Like I'll watch a movie or finish a TV series, and I'll go onto YouTube. I'm like, please explain this to me.
I do that all the
Oh,
time.
I do that all the time. The movie ends, and I'm like, I just Google like,
like
what was going on there?
It
And,
helps.
like,
it'll help you kind of connect the dots sometimes.
Well, because
Yeah.
sometimes you miss things, and like they're like, well, did you notice when this happened? And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, I have a hard time just paying attention to movies, anyways.
have
I
you
think-
seen any good movies lately?
No, no. The next one I want to see is I'm excited for is Beetlejuice, the second one.
That's gonna be fun.
I have to rewatch the first one. It's been like forever.
I was a huge Beetlejuice fan. Like
Yeah.
I loved it. I just the music scene in it. I just really liked it. So I'm excited for that. Movies don't excite me anymore because they're just regurgitations.
yeah, that's the
so
problem.
many
today.
of them, and they're just like.
I think Brienne watched Beetlejuice the other day, and she was like, Beetlejuice is only in the movie for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I know. Like, it is, that's the same thing I said. It is a very odd movie. Like
is.
Yeah.
it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, I get the what it means, but like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think it's more about like the shock, like a special effects and thing. I don't know. Is this off the rails?
No, I feel like that we're here just to kind of BS and like talk about stuff. Like I kind of wanted to. One of the things I wanted to ask was like, "Are you guys seen any good movies?"
Yeah.
I watched Sicario for the first time finally.
What is it?
That was really good. Sicario.
I don't know what that is.
It's really good. It's like a FBI like dealing with like the cartels and
Oh,
stuff. And there's like part of it that takes place here, but it was directed by Denis Villeneuve, who did the new Dune movies and stuff. And then I was like,
Have you seen any of the Dune stuff?
I haven't.
I haven't either, but
the
I've
second
heard,
one's
like,
supposed to be really good. I want to watch the first one first, but it's like 3 hours long.
have you
I
seen the
haven't got to it
original one?
yet. No.
Yeah, that one was weird. That one was a very like then in that
The one from
Star
like the 80s?
Yeah, the one in that like the Star Wars era. It was just really bad. Like,
Yeah.
really weird. But that second Dune, the second new Dune, is supposed to be pretty crazy. Like really, really good or something.
But that's why I want to watch the first one first. They're both on Max. I keep almost watching them on the weekends.
It's just I don't know. I can't get into a movie. It's so hard.
Me
for
neither. I don't know if it's a byproduct of what we've been doing for so long, having to create stories and to go back on the sports thing, which we're totally gonna lose people. But that's why I watch sports, because like I just turn myself off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't. If I watch a movie. And this
You
is
have
gonna
to pay
This is gonna make me
attention.
feel.
You have to pay
it's gonna make me
attention.
feel stupid. But like, you got to be invested in this movie. You got to pay attention. And that's why I don't want to start any new TV shows, because I'll freaking get invested.
Yeah.
And I want to watch them all. I just want to like do what I do and then just kind of turn off my brain for a few hours. That's watching a guy hit a ball in a field.
Tires on Netflix, the Shane Gillis one, was brilliant. Each episode was like 18 minutes long, like or 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, is this supposed to be like this? Like, yeah. And it was like it was so funny and so fast, and then it was over. I was like, this is perfect.
That's like a serialized sitcom, though, right?
Yeah. It's just exactly.
Because it's like, I think you should leave. They're all like 15 minutes, but they're like sketches.
That's the Tim Robinson. one?
Yeah.
Those are so funny.
Yeah.
Those are great.
Yeah, I can't. I'm waiting for the final season of Stranger Things. That one I was.
They
Yeah, that's
posted
gonna
that
be interesting.
teaser, the behind the scenes thing
Oh,
yesterday.
really?
Yeah.
Does it
It's
look
really
good?
Gets you back in the feels.
Really?
I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like they're not showing you anything. It's like literally behind the scenes,
Yeah.
like them going back to set and everything. But it still
How are
gets
they
you
going to
hyped.
have these like 20, 30-year-old kids?
I think they just moved the story into...
Oh, they just...
Yeah,
Oh,
they're- I
that's-
don't think they're
that's
gonna...
an easy way to do it.
I don't think they're going to be like, they're
Hey, look
still
at this
riding their
12-year-old
bicycle.
kid.
Yeah. It's like a progression
Yeah.
in the story.
Yeah, because the one dude, Steve, was like, even when they were supposed to be younger, he was like in his 30s when he filmed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was like
Steve's in a band
90210,
also
man.
called... It's DJO. I think you say it Joe. It's a pretty good
He's
band.
in an actual band?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
like
cool.
Played like
Almost like a
Coachella.
Phantom Planet kind of like...
With Schwartzman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's super cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, in 90210, Brenda, remember Brenda?
Yeah.
I don't know if- she was like 34.
Yeah.
And
I
she
mean,
was
people are always older. You know, it's crazy. Like, she just passed R.I.P.
Brenda. Shannon Doherty.
Shannon Doherty.
Already.
Apparently, Oliver was friends with her. Oliver Porter.
Yeah,
No,
Oliver,
posting,
way.
yeah, he like
posted,
posted like he was chilling with her.
Yeah, like selfies of them
like
and stuff.
partying with
Like,
you. And I was like, Oliver, you did not talk about this on the podcast.
Where was this?
Like you hung out with Shannon Doherty. I mean, granted,
I mean, you did hang out with Screech.
I did
Oh,
hang out with Dustin Diamond
Diamond.
a few times. You know, his mom did come pick us up, and we did go.
Didn't he die too?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that was a crazy one. Mm-hmm. That was like that thing that took a really weird turn with his life. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Should we just get dark and talk about celebrities passing?
Ooh.
Richard Simmons.
Richard Simmons.
They were
Well,
seeing
he
him.
didn't get murked. He fell and hit his head. So
Yeah, so it was an accident. It wasn't natural causes.
no, he slipped and fell. As far as I know, same way Bob Saget.
You
went.
had-
Well, he went out a little bit different, but
You had
somewhat.
said, I don't know if it was when Bob Saget passed or whatever, but you had mentioned one time you're just like, you just never know what could happen. You could like literally fall and hit your head.
Yeah. You don't. Like,
Yeah.
you could die from anything,
Yeah.
basically. I mean, people literally die just sitting there.
Well, that
Like,
fool,
you have
the
a
other,
brain
the other
aneurysm
fool from
or
Alf died
whatever.
because he took a nap in his car. And
Yeah, over in Peoria, like right here in Arizona.
did you
From
hear that?
Alf?
The kid,
The
from,
kid
Alf.
from Alf,
Not
yeah.
Alf, the kid in the costume or whoever it was, but like the
That's
kid.
not a real alien life form. hey,
Yeah, that's not Harry Henderson's when he was
Spoilers.
I mean,
small.
I don't have to hide my cats that I don't have.
Yeah, the little kid in there like was just in Peoria at a bank and like with his service dog in the car. I know that's super sad. I probably shouldn't even say that, but like, yeah, they both passed from the heat.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's been a rough.
All right. That's enough.
Anyway.
It's been a-
death, celebrity death
been a
talk.
weird-
It's just been a crazy week.
The
Yeah.
only thing I was going to add is my favorite Shannon Doherty thing isn't even from 90210. It's in Mallrats.
Mallrats.
Yeah.
When she's in there, but then the big dude goes, Brenda? And she goes, asshole? She says, Dick. Oh, Dick. Yeah, Dick.
Schooner is a sailboat, you stupid. Yeah, that's actually Oliver was posting those pictures, and I just sent him "Hell hath no fury like a woman scored for Sega." Yeah, which is a line from
Mallrats.
Mallrats.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite movie.
My
Absolute
favorite
movie.
Kevin Smith movie for sure, and in my top 5 movies of all time.
Yeah. What's your favorite? What's your number one?
Fight Club.
That's
I've
a
never
good
seen it.
one.
It's one of those ones I wish I would see.
Yeah, huge David Fincher fan, and I just like really enjoyed the movie. I like the twists in it, stuff like that. That's always been my favorite movie. I've seen it like backwards, forwards. I watched it in French once, just like
Just for fun.
Watch the French version on Blu-ray, like
That's awesome.
whatever. I don't speak French, but it was. I had seen it so many times, I knew what was going on. It's just I've always liked that movie.
So that's a good one. Mine's Swingers. That's my number
Oh,
one favorite
that's,
movie.
that's probably in my top.
Yeah,
some of my top
that movie made that started my love affair with the city of Los Angeles. Like watching that movie, like getting through the first part in Vegas, but then when they just go through their life, like living in Los Angeles and all this stuff, like I don't know, it just something clicked in my brain, and I'm like, I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was also like when like ska was getting really big, and there was a lot of like
Like
ska
big band.
and big band stuff in that movie, and the great soundtrack.
There was good soundtracks, but my favorite movie, if any of you wanted to ask me.
We were gonna get there.
Yeah, I know. I was like,
No,
We were gonna get
anyway.
there.
Moving on. So I got
anyways,
questions for Will.
Yeah. It was because of the soundtrack is Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater.
Ooh.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
No, it's really, really good. Yeah.
I'll check it out. I'll watch it for you.
I don't know how well it's aged.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
Because there's movies that like Rad, right? Like Chelsea had never seen Rad, so like I was like, let's watch Rad because I got I bought the
Blu-ray
Blu-ray 4K thing re-released. I was like,
Yeah.
slid it in and was like, this movie's terrible.
Yeah, it's not exactly how I remember
No,
it.
it's really bad. You know what I mean? Like,
It's no Gleaming the Cube.
it's no Gleaming the Cube. Gleaming the Cube is also in my top 5 movies.
That's a
Yeah.
good movie.
Yeah. Anyways.
Talking about Swingers and then Mallrats as well. Like those were movies as well that were made like super low budget from like early filmmakers, Jon Favreau, like before he was doing like Star Wars stuff like that, and then Kevin Smith with Mallrats. Those were also like at a time in my life where I was like, you know, even though I'm just like making like little car videos and stuff like that, like those are things that have always made me be like, well,
Yeah.
if they could do it for like no budget, like we could do that, like whatever, like trying to come up with ideas and stuff
Clerks.
like that. I wish I would have done more with that. Mallrats is better than
Did you
Clerks.
watch
I
the new
agree.
Clerks?
I agree. Huh?
Did you go watch the new Clerks?
I haven't seen the newest one. No.
I went and saw it in the theater.
Was it good?
It was really good. It was, and then the end was very emotional.
Yeah.
It kind of took you through why they filmed it in black and white, and it had a lot to do with the budget part because they were filming in a liquor store. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't a set; it was a liquor store.
Yeah.
And all of the colors in the liquor store were kind of like just so distracting. They couldn't plan it out right. You
Yeah.
know, like. And
I
so
also
they're-
heard that like it was filmed sometime at night, sometime during the day, and it was much easier to control in black and white.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, there was it was just a really emotional thing, you know, like with that new one went through like Kevin Smith's heart attack and all that.
Yeah, because
stuff.
Randall has a heart attack in the movie, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's super good.
Yeah, I gotta definitely see that one. But I agree with you, Mallrats is better than Clerks. However, have you seen the alternate ending to Clerks? Which I think should have been the original ending.
Maybe.
But then it kind of wouldn't make sense in the rest of the universe because in the original ending in Clerks, Dante gets shot. Like someone robs the liquor store and he gets shot and he dies. And I think it would have been so good because you have this silly movie with all this silly shit going on, and then at the end the dude gets shot and like it's pretty intense. It's actually a really intense scene because he gets shot and the last scene is just like real tight on his face is like it's like leaving, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like this really, and he took it out because it's like, it's just too much. Like, it's a silly movie. It should end on a silly note. Now that I think about it, had they killed him in that first one, a lot of the other stuff wouldn't have made.
All right, now we're
sense.
getting weeds on movies, but
Yeah.
circle back to why
Will's
why
like,
it works.
bring it back, buddy.
Will's like,
Bring it
look,
back.
Circle
your
back
guys-
to why it works.
Will's like, your
in
podcast
Clerks,
sucks
he
now
holds
'cause
up
you-
a Mini Trucker magazine.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
The words Mini Trucker
Yes.
magazine are spoken in the word Clerks, so
Yes.
we brought it all back.
We brought
We
it
brought
all
it
back.
back.
Will's
many
like, look,
times.
your guys' podcast kind of getting slow. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about that. But let's talk about non-truck stuff.
Proceeds to come on here. And
No,
talk
that's
about
okay.
non-truck
People
stuff.
are interested. I feel like in other things as well, as long as we bring it back.
That's what we thought. Anyway, but no, yes, they do mention Mini Trucking Magazine, which you got. Did you get your Mini Trucking?
I did. Yeah, I got it a little while ago. I really liked it. It was, I think you guys had kind of talked about it, and you had kind of asked, like, hey, what are your opinions on it?
I kind of like put your opinions out there without speaking for you. I just sort of like kind of made a couple points.
The biggest thing for me was that, like, opening the mailbox and having it there, and I was like not expecting that. I was just like, oh, I can't wait for this magazine to come. It's cool. Glad they're bringing it back. And then you like, kind of, what were you talking about earlier about that brought you back? Like, when you sat in the Nissan or whatever, and you were like,
just brought you back to a time in your life.
Yeah, so it's like you open the mailbox, which is most of the time, you know, just like generic like junk mail or bills or whatever the case you're gonna get. But to like open that up and there's just a magazine in there and you like pull it out and it was just this weird like hit you with the feels, and I was just not expecting it, and I was like, whoa,
because you knew the magazine, the magazine was coming out, you knew you were getting it, but physically pulling it out of the mailbox.
Yeah,
was definitely
different.
It
was just like, because you used to do that once a month.
Yeah,
you know, you would or you would pick it up at the store, but like if you had a subscription, you'd go to the mailbox, and about that time of the month there'd be a magazine,
a new refreshed magazine.
Yeah, so yeah, and then I took it home and opened it up, and I was pretty impressed. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I really liked about it. I thought the like page quality was really good. The color was good. The photographers did a great job. All the pictures were good. I really liked how, since it was thicker than like a normal monthly magazine, they did a lot. You had a lot of pictures. So like a feature would be like 8 pages versus like 2 pages where they tried to cram, you know, some of the best pictures. But it's like, you know, you can just scroll through and see, you know, 10 slides on your Instagram of a vehicle, but to kind of see them like laid out over curated pages, some basically. Are big, some are small, kind of a little more curated like that. It was really cool. Like my like construction criticism stuff, because I know that's kind of what you guys were trying to give then, is like I'm like big on like fonts and text and how stuff lays out, and so like there was that, I was like, the spacing's too big, the font is too big, it's the wrong font all over this magazine for like the article parts of it, and then like there was some stuff
like drop shadows between the I was like
there was and it was like a very like not Times New Roman but Times New Roman style, and it was like I even had to go back to old magazines and other magazines to see like what they were using.
What kind of font were they using back? Like what was the standard font for?
It was like a Timesy one, I think, in the beginning, and then it kind of moved to more like a sans serif, like no like ends hanging off the letters, kind of like more like modern, clean vibe,
like a soft typewriter. Almost.
Yeah. And then some of the layout stuff was a little jarring, like where I was like, oh, you know, some of the coverage looked like just like picture with a black box in other stuff, and I would like to see them get a little more creative with what they're doing. They're gonna learn, they're gonna get better at some of this stuff that's like, it was their first go at it, and I think it was really good. Some of the like, you're looking at a thing and then all of a sudden there's an ad, and the ad is laid out a little weird, and you're like, wait, like your brain almost was like, thought it was a part of the feature, but then it was an ad, and it kind of like didn't quite click, you know.
There's have you ever like looked at a Wheel Hub or Truck Hub magazine? So you'd appreciate those. They're almost like a coffee table book.
You and Ben were talking about it.
I have 2 issues of something that might be one of those that I had like got an ad for a couple years ago. Yeah, they're like thick bound.
They're like a perfect bound. They're like, each feature is like 25 pages long.
Yeah.
And they're just like the pictures that, so usually a big photo in a magazine is just like the overall of the truck.
Yeah.
But these guys will do like a big photo of just a detail. So it's just like a piece of a corner of the, like the headlight or whatever, and they'll make that the whole page.
Yeah. And that to me feels more like, you know, as someone who takes pictures, like you take a picture, you edit that picture, you do whatever, and you look at it, and you can look at it at whatever size on your computer, or sometimes you want to print something out, but you're like, oh, this beautiful picture I took of this detail, and then it ends up like this small in a magazine, and so like it is kind of neat to stuff like that is like more it's for like, the photographer.
Yes. Well, I also think though, if you show the reader that, then they'll appreciate it, because they're not used to seeing that. Because if you're putting the magazine together as like an art director or an editor or whatever, your train of like your thought process is like, oh, big truck big picture, big magazine.
Yeah.
But if you're saying like a little detail, you're like, oh, this just needs to be a small picture. When
Yeah.
actually you just flip the script and you
Right.
take what you think is supposed to be small, stretch it out into a whole page, and you're just like, oh, this is cool.
Well, because but as a photographer, you may be looking for those little details, and those are also the things that somebody's like, nobody ever notices on my truck that I did this.
Yeah.
or
Well, I was
whatever.
gonna say that like you explained to me one time, instead of like opening, like even in a show coverage video, instead of just showing the whole truck and then showing the wheels and showing the interior, start with the wheels, start with the interior, and then show the whole truck. So
Yeah,
is it almost
reveal.
similar to what you're saying? Like start off with these details and then kind of allude.
Not necessarily. Just like the details don't. Just because it's a small detail doesn't mean to be just a small picture.
I see-
A
yeah, I see
small
what you're
detail
saying.
can be a large photo, and just as impactful as the entire truck.
Yeah, you're always going to start an article with like a hero shot of
Yeah.
like the main vehicle, but yeah, like having pages where like maybe like an interior like leather buckle is like half
Yeah.
the page or something like
the
that.
button
like,
on a
can
seat,
be kind of cool.
or like the stitching on the
Yeah.
seat, or the whatever. I always one of the first things I ask any vehicle, like the owner or whatever, when I'm photographing the truck or even doing a video feature, I'm just like, is there anything that special you did
Yeah,
that I'm gonna overlook? Because I'm,
And you don't know.
I don't know, and I'm just trying to beat sunlight. I'm trying to I'm on a timeline, whatever it is. So if you can help me point it out, then I will go to that, because I don't want to move. I don't want to skip over that.
have you
Right.
ever had that experience like judging also?
It's been years since I've actually judged something.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I've had that experience. Like usually, you don't want the person just standing there while you're
Yeah.
judging. Like, whatever you want to like take it in on your own. But sometimes it is nice if like somebody's nearby. I've had that situation where like we were judging something, especially like me and Jeff will usually judge under construction. We both really love that
which is like
category.
the hardest one to judge.
Yeah, but like I love under construction trucks. There's a lot of times where, and I get scared about my own truck like this. Like when it's done, is it going to be like what it could have been like to somebody's head or whatever? That happens to me where I see something. Like an example is the Zarate. That's how you say it.
Zerati Metalwork.
That
Mark Zarate.
blue Tacoma that they built. I
One
had
that
seen
burned
that.
down?
I had seen that. Yeah, I had seen it under construction, and I was like, "Oh, look at this little detail in this, and look at what he's doing here, and like all these different things." And then when it was like painted, a beautiful truck.
Yeah, but it kind of lost
a lot
it.
of stuff, and it was like, had I never seen it the other way, I'm like, oh my god, this thing is amazing. But I saw the other one, and I was like, oh, like this isn't where my brain went with it, or whatever. And
Yeah,
so
I think
like,
that's like one of the coolest part about under construction, about mini truck, and like you said earlier, you've never seen an under construction lowrider,
yeah,
but it's kind
But
of
you're
cool
kinda-
to see the under
yeah, you're
construction.
missing out.
You're kind of missing out. You're missing out on seeing the process and seeing the things that you don't normally see.
But I've had people just happen to be nearby when we're judging or something like that, and like we just flat out asked, "Is there anything here that we would miss?"
Yeah.
And that would happen. That actually happened with the Severtise Ranger guy out of Vegas. When he showed at our show, I think it was like one of the first shows he brought it out to under construction, and there was he was like, "Yeah, actually under here I did this and that," and we're like, "Oh, okay, cool." Yeah, like
when it comes to judging is an interesting topic, because you're judging say a mini truck class, mini truck wild or whatever, right? You're not just judging Ford Rangers. Like you're judging a Toyota,
Yeah.
an S10, and a Ranger, different generations of Toyotas, Nissans. And most people don't know everything about every truck. What was stock and what wasn't stock.
Yeah.
So it is like, what would be a good idea for someone? A lot of people will have like boards showing what's
placard
done
or
to, like a
something.
placard
Yeah.
showing. Like I think that's a good idea. Or just having the owner, like if it's a high caliber truck, like say Oliver's truck or the Stranger or whatever, you know what I mean? Like if you're there and you want the judges to see, there's ways to like say, hey, I'm over here, if you have any questions type
Oh,
thing.
I see.
There are things on this truck that you may miss. Let me know if you want to know what they are, instead of just like approaching them like kind of
kind of like hovering, like you're saying, like hovering.
hovering.
Yeah. I think that actually happened recently because Oliver's just started bringing his truck back out. I think that did happen at our show too, where it was like we weren't judging at the time, but we were just talking, and Jeff was like, "Wait, what's going on with the pillar here? And like, how does the window work?" And then he was like, "This, and this got done or whatever." And you're like, "Oh, like yeah, I knew this thing was chopped, but like." There's all the little things that like you don't really know how it came together.
Yeah, I think under construction vehicles in our scene play a big part. Like to go back to the lowrider thing, is like you don't see a lot of under construction lowriders because like they're more about the finished end goal showing off that part. Where us, as like the mentality that it started with, which is the DIY doing.
We want to show you what we're doing.
Want to show off
Yeah.
like all of these things that have been tinkered with and messed with. So I think under construction is a huge part of what we do.
Yeah.
It's almost like the blue collar type of work. Like we want to show you what we're doing.
It's like-
we're proud of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Kind of like traditional hot roddy. Like, those guys were just, I'm going to make this car lower. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it go fast and whatever. And it wasn't about like having it be the most high caliber thing ever. And I think there's a lot of that in mini trucking where it's like, no, look at what I did. Look at what I'm doing. Like, this is crazy. I love under construction. One of the trucks just come to mind is that Chaos Taco.
No, yeah, we were talking about him earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, off the pod.
Yeah.
Nothing bad. We were just talking about how cool his truck is.
Yeah, he just posted a thing where he was like, the way he ran like the spark plug wires, and I was like, and where he put the like coil packs and stuff, and I was like, oh, that's cool, like that's neat. And
Yeah.
it's like,
I'm
if
watching-
the truck was 100% done and painted, would I notice it right away,
Yeah.
or would I have missed out on the opportunity to see like that idea?
It's
come into
fun
play?
watching him build his truck right now because I'm like, I'm not doing any of that stuff.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's such like doing it himself and like doing all these cool things and he's doing it like fast.
Yeah.
And he's also doing it good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's gonna be a crazy truck when it's done.
yeah. I like when people have like ideas that they have the capability to implement.
Or when they reached out to different genres of vehicles, like he's doing the electronic power steering.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
cool.
that's what Ben was talking about when he was here, and I was just like, yeah, that's a big thing in like I want to say maybe the drift world or something like that where that can be implemented. There's still things out there that can be implemented in the mini truck world that we haven't
Yeah.
done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could do anything. That's kind of the point of this scene.
Yeah.
in a
Yeah,
sense.
there's no rules.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best part that I think. That and just being different. Like I always said, it's like I feel like mini trucking is the misfits of the custom world.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like everybody loves a '57 Chevy, perfectly restored Bel Air. A lot of people love a '64 Impala lowrider, but you see a laid out mini truck and a lot of people are like, "What?"
Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah. And it's like special for you when you're into it.
Yeah, definitely.
And it is cool to see people who like reach those higher calibers and stuff like that.
It's really cool in what we're seeing now, how it's kind of like evolving into, like it's with like Oliver's Truck and the Stranger. We talk about Oliver's Truck and the Stranger a lot, but we do because it is like the next iteration of what we're trying to accomplish.
One of the things with the Stranger that I was having conversations with people at Rolling in the Red Rocks, which is like, to me, that truck is the best mini truck that was ever built. It doesn't have the craziest paint or anything like that, but it was like, it was just on a different level. I mean,
agree.
it when it was originally built, it went to like Grand National.
It went to
or
Detroit
Good Guys. It went to Autorama. Like it went to high caliber events with other high caliber cars that were not.
It was not built
Ford
to go to
Rangers.
mini truck shows.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, this is like the best truck ever. Like, look at it. Look underneath it. Look at all this different stuff. And then I roll in the Red Rocks. The new owner, he has just done so much more to it. And I was like, I didn't know you could do more. But look, the billet arms that he has, the stuff that's underneath, like I think he has different like battery boxes. He upgraded all kinds of other little things.
Yeah.
And it's like, I had already seen that truck a few times in person and gotten to look at all the little small details, and I was like, oh, there's not much more, like this thing's done. And then somehow he did more. He's got the like miniature front emblem in the bed now, where in the tailgate when the tailgate goes down. And I didn't know that truck could get better.
Yeah. Imagine that, having that the idea, seeing the best truck ever, and then going, oh, I have some ideas for that.
And then having the for lack of a better term, like the balls to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the balls to drive it.
Yeah. That's what happened.
That
once.
was really cool.
Well, no, I think the previous owner did drive it.
Oh,
and
he did?
And I actually think he autocrossed that truck. Like he actually like took it on a race course.
Really?
Yeah.
Pascal?
Yes. I could be wrong, but I swear someone told me that.
I don't know.
That would be
But
interesting.
regardless, the
Pascal, if you're watching or listening,
yeah,
let us know. We've seen you on our TV putting in windshields.
But the cool part about when the stranger was driving down a mini truck in Nats was his wife in the third in
Yeah,
in the
that
back,
was
in
cool.
the extra
Yeah.
cab.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
cool.
like sitting sideways, like that was cool.
It was cool. That whole
Yeah.
experience was really cool. Do you guys think there are any trucks currently that will get to that? Because right now, I mean, that's pretty much the only one. You know,
I don't know every detail underneath it, but Zach's Mazda
Oh.
that debuted at your guys'
good,
show.
yeah, good one.
Like that thing. I've loved that since it was under construction.
Yeah.
When it was on the cover of Mini Truckin'. But
I love it. Are you talking about when it was like the
patina, brown patina.
Yeah, yeah.
I loved it
since
back
too.
then.
Yeah,
But this iteration of it is wild. And I was talking to him at your guys' show, and he was like, this is actually my vision that I've had forever. I just was never able to get it done and get to this level with it. But I mean,
he almost got there with his Ranger, but you can tell that like
His Ranger was just like a crutch to get him over,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
to get him through
Which
this.
that Ranger's
Which the
beautiful, too.
Ranger is
oh yeah,
like,
it's just phenomenal.
yeah, it's great. It's
but
really crazy.
the Mazda, yeah. So
yeah.
the
But
Mazda,
that truck, which was amazing at your guys' show, and then I saw that he had done even more updates. Like that was like he has that crazy like custom billet grill with the like Camaro, old school Camaro, like fold-in lights and everything like that. And I was like, that's amazing. But there was a part of me in the back of my head that was like, I wish it wasn't just billet aluminum. And then he showed up at Mini Nats, and it was is it gloss? I think it's gloss black now.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's so much better.
he ran out of time for our show.
Yeah. And but that truck, like the interior on it, like there's a lot of small details in that truck too. Like the way the glass is put in is not just like the original. There's no trim. There's a lot of small details. His mirrors, I really love his side mirrors, which then he was like, oh yeah, they're from this hot rod company. And then I just had him customize it so that it was like the mount is for a Mazda or whatever like that. And then I'm like, cool. And then I looked up the mirrors, and they're like $1,900 for 2 mirrors. This is like the buy it on the site, not the like whatever he paid to have the mount customized or whatever. Like they're like the perfect shape, like a shape of a mirror I've been looking for a long time. But I was like, I'm not dropping $2,000 on mirrors.
Yeah, I can't wait to see more, because I think that's where we're going. To be honest with you, I think we're like not everybody, but like we're going to see more and more of those types of builds.
Those types of builds, like where there's a thought in them. You know what I mean? It's not just a fancy paint job slapped on a truck.
Yeah,
those types of builds are just, they're so few and far between. And I understand time and money and all that, but just like those are the ones that I really like enjoy, and I wish there was more of those, you know, like not that others are maybe rushed or whatever, but like people are always so rushed to get things out and done.
Yeah. It's money though.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, look at me. I was just gonna ask you guys, like, do you think if you won a $500 million,
that's a lot of money.
I know, but because if you won $1 million, $1 million, you still got to go. This is kind of not that much money.
Yeah. What's the tax bill on this?
Yeah. But $500 million,
you
could not worry about. You could have like that $1 million to just throw at your 720. Like, would you? Do you think you were? For one, do you think you could do that? Because it's a lot of money, and it's like we're not rich, so regardless how much money is in the bank, it's still like. Even though you didn't have that before, it's still like you're spending $1 million on this thing.
No, if I won $500 million, which is the number that you threw out there, it doesn't matter. Like $1 million is nothing or whatever.
I think the point you're trying to make is, would you still mess around with this dumb little truck, or would you be like, well, I'm gonna mess around with McLarens?
Would you take your truck and take it to that Zach Stranger level? Or?
Yeah, like I want to say that I would, but I mean, if you really like got dumped that much money, you'd probably switch your priorities for a while, and you would probably be traveling the world. And
but while you're traveling, it could be
could just be getting built somewhere.
It could be at Pandas and go, look, don't work on anything else, man. Here's $500,000.
Basically, you're like, look, Panda,
how much money did you make last year?
For 5 years. Yeah, I will pay you for 5 years to only build this truck.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things
that'd be pretty. I like that. That's pretty awesome.
I always said if I won that much, I would have my own place and have someone and just hire someone to come.
you were talking about that recently.
Yeah, to like where I can still be involved.
Yeah.
But I also don't need to be involved, so I don't have to be there. I can just like almost like Jay Leno does.
Yeah.
Well, that's like a good example. Is that like one of the things that I've always thought about is like that winning the lottery scenario, like a lot of millions of dollars. Is that like I'd love to have a collection of cars. Like I'm not into like a Jay Leno is like into very like specifics. Like there's a lot of stuff at the Peterson Museum on the other floors that are like, to some people, would be amazing. Like one of the things I didn't do there was go into. They have like a thing called the Vault, which you pay extra for.
Is that where you see like the factory Dodge Neon is down there, and
that's like
I just looked at pictures people had posted on Google of it, and I was like, that's not for me. Like that's a lot of like you're into this like, wow, they only made X amount of those. And they're not wild. They're just like, old cars. I'm sure there's some wild ones and stuff like that, but for me, I'm always like, I want to have like a really nice mini truck. I want to have a lowrider that I did not build, that like I had built or like purchased or whatever. Like I want to have like a thing where you like walk out and you're like, which one would I take out today? Kind of thing. Like a collection of stuff like that would be exciting. So would I probably wouldn't put that money into the one I have right now, but maybe I would start a from scratch build or
definitely.
something like that.
The very first Coach built mini truck.
it's
not like it doesn't exist, but like let's take. You know what? I really love the shape of a Mazda cab, but I love a Toyota. This part of a Toyota. Like let's make this thing.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It would be fun to just do whatever you wanted to do. Like because everyone likes different things. You know what I mean? Like I would go and find a Ford Taurus show wagon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just lay it out on some big wide billet wheels.
Right,
and just like dark tinted windows on it. Like just random weird stuff like that.
I would get the replica Ecto 1.
Oh, okay.
And I would lay it out. I body it. And I just drive it around and drag for the kids.
There goes that billionaire, basically.
You know who kind of does that is Whistling Diesel. So if you see his car collection, like what he did to that General Lee car that he has now is exactly what I would do to it. It's like a replica General Lee, but with like a twin turbocharged Nelson racing engine in it.
I think Jesse James did that first, though.
Did he?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get the sentiment.
Yeah. And he drove it by the Dukes of Hazzard like museum. So all these people. Imagine you're at the Dukes of Hazzard Museum and you hear this thing and this thing goes woo, and he just kept driving back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Anyways, that comes like that's like the closest to me of just like buying whatever you want.
Yeah,
like random weird stuff like the Toyota diesels that he buys.
Yeah, like, it's interesting to see too.
Going on Cars and Bids and going,
that one.
Yeah. I want that.
Yeah,
when you just have money to do that with.
Yeah, a lot of people say, "Oh, I buy supercars. I buy this." No, I would just buy very, very random things.
I would still buy, like, with that much money. I would still buy a couple supercars just because. Yeah. But I wouldn't make that my. I think what happens to a lot of those, like like uber rich people is they make the supercars like their whole identity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
sometimes
I'm not
it's
do that.
like a status thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a status thing. Sometimes I think it's a nostalgia thing. Like I'm personally not nostalgic for Ferraris or
like the guys that had the Countach.
Well, I mean, I'm only nostalgic because we had like the folders when we were kids. Like the 911s and the Countachs.
I think the Countach is probably the most iconic type of like nostalgia because it was like the crazy wedge shaped, big wing kind of futuristic type thing, and like Doug DeMiro. Do you follow him? He has one and he just drives it sometimes. Like,
he has one.
I
thought only the Smoking Tower guy had one.
He has one too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they both have them. They just drive them. Doug DeMiro is random. He'll just like fly home from somewhere, jumps in his freaking Countach and goes to dinner.
Yeah.
And just goes wherever. And he just gets on. He's this goofy dude in shorts. It's like
yeah. It is interesting to hear those dudes talk about cars like that, though. About like you say that he jumps in it, but it's like a thing to do. Like in optimal. Like the guy from the Smoking Tire talks about driving his, and it has to be like. The way to really enjoy it is you have to go through a process of starting it, letting it run, letting a bit of oil pressure, getting to a certain temperature. But anyway, that's just being, very particular about things.
But it is that thing where you ask, what would you do if you won the lotto? Type thing.
Yeah.
I would have a fleet of 90s Japanese sports cars.
That'd be
RX-7, Supra, even the Subaru WRX weird thing. Or what was that Subaru they made with the weird back windows that like bubbled out? It wasn't a WRX. It was I don't know.
The Baja?
No, it was a car. It was a sports car. and it had these weird windows on it that almost had like window coverings on the side. I forgot what it was called. Someone will put it in the comments or message me and tell
If
me.
they made it this far.
Oh yeah,
Well, how are we at?
150.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're
light
we're
work.
good. It's only 850 right now. We
Light
got
work.
all night long.
Should we get into
Yeah, we can
the
get
questions, or-
into. Well, I mean, there aren't a lot, but we'll
No,
get
that's
into
fine.
it.
Whatever. See what the people want to talk about.
Yeah. So we will start at the top.
Should we do dropping in?
Yeah, drop in.
Ready, go. Okay, so you can't hear this. So.
Drop in. Drop. I dropped everything. I knew the drops would come. Drop it.
Who? Oh, Nick didn't get it. Nick is just like,
Nick was like,
what is
Yeah,
happening?
yeah. He obviously doesn't listen. It's so funny when you.
I can't believe still that you don't just have like a button.
That's
you
what he
can-
said.
You can press like. You got to get one of the boards with the buttons.
That's
Then you
what
can just
this
hit
is.
That's
dropping
That's
in.
what that is.
But we can't.
It's
hear
right
it.
here. It's drop.
If we plug,
But
in,
I can't hear it.
Yeah,
if
but
we plugged in
if you plug
headphones,
this in
it-
and had headphones, you could hear it, but you
okay.
can't. So, but yeah, it's playing. So there's record scratch, fireball, meow, surprise, sad
Well,
trombone.
Let's mix it up. Give me a couple.
What do you want? You want a rim shot? I don't even know what that's.
No, that is not, man. No, we're not gonna get demonetized.
yeah, I don't know.
Nah, it's not as funny if I can't hear them.
Yeah. No, it's. Yeah. Anyway, welcome to dropping in. Where we answer everybody's questions, and like I said in the top of this episode, these are not necessarily questions. Like, Will, what's your favorite wheel?
We're gonna do these episodes
Will.
from time
Inky
to time,
Shogun.
like these episodes from time to time, where they're not necessarily guest episodes. We're just having friends on.
Yeah.
So if you want to know their opinions about something,
That's where we're at
instead of
right
our
now.
opinions about something, because we have it's the same opinion every time you answer. So it's fun to have another.
Brian, what do you
person's-
think about '90s graphics?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the same thing.
They're good. Anyway, this is actually this is a really good segue into the first question. Our buddy Kay Faring asks, "What's your opinion on the rebirth of Underglow?"
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
And
too.
the reason that I like it, I think, is because it's just the technology's better now.
Yes.
So like when you had like the neon tubes back in the day, like they had to be encased in tubes, and there was only so many places you could put them, and they weren't that bright, honestly.
They're very fuzzy.
Yeah, and then I think at the time too, it was just cheap and easy. Like I worked at Circuit City when all that stuff was going on, and I worked in the car audio department, and then there was like this era where they were like, okay, now Circuit City is teaming up with APC, and we're gonna sell Tesla taillights, we're gonna sell
Yeah.
Underglow, we're gonna sell all this stuff, and you just kind of saw how cheap a lot of that stuff was, and it just like, I don't know, it didn't look cool. But for a long time, I've said, even with my truck, like I want like lighting on it and maybe a little underneath, but I just want like clean white.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just like as an accent piece. Who's doing that really well, especially in the bed, is that Cookies and Cream Mazda.
Oh, that's a good
like,
one. I always my best example for that is Milan's truck.
Yeah.
Like his looks always really on point when it's
Yeah, he's got everything like placed really well, and there's so many options to do that now, and it's like it's all LED. I mean, in my house, I have all kinds of like Govee brand like lights, like behind my couch lights up, behind the TV stand. I got a light in the corner. It just adds ambiance, and it adds an extra thing to it. And I actually am surprised that like it got so big again, especially like in this scene, because I feel like it was something that like people like used to talk
like-
down on.
It's like everything, man. Something like, because if you said they weren't that great, but if you think back to back to the Fast and Furious movies, when you saw Fast and Furious, and you saw those cars hovering and just glowing, you're like,
Yeah.
whoa. But then after a while, it becomes a parody of itself, and then you have like AutoZone Underglow.
Yeah.
Well, even now, a lot of the underglow that people are buying, it's just straight off Amazon, and it's like, it's
that's
just
where-
sticky tape stuff. It
Yeah.
still looks really good though.
But sometimes they don't look good. Sometimes you'll come across one that they see it. Oh, they see like a truck done really nice, and they're like, "Oh, I could do that." And then they just slap some lights in it, and it looks
That's
terrible.
the install. So
Oh,
if
yeah.
you can
Yeah.
you can take a very inexpensive kit from Amazon, and Jeremy did this from Tray 5 with this truck that he has now. It's just all that stuff, but he did it really well. He took the time to like
Place it where it
place
should
it
go.
where it should go, run the wires correctly, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
And
It looks really nice.
Yeah, and it's cool because you can adjust the colors. I said,
That's the fun, that's the most fun part.
yeah, because like you said, you wanted clean white, so like you can get clean white, but then one day you're like, well, I'll throw some purple
Yeah, I wanna
under
do some
there,
color
and
with
it's
it.
just like dunk, and now you can do it. Like my truck, I want that truck when you come up the road here to my house. Like I want a drone shot of dark desert.
Yeah.
And it's super dark, and you just see
this
this
thing
little
spaceship.
little light just like come up, or just the headlights.
Yeah.
And maybe it gets closer, and then it just hit this thing, and it just goes like I'm gonna put like rigid fog lights in the bumper.
Yeah.
So they look like the running lights, but they're actually like dual square
Yeah.
LEDs, and it's just I just want that thing to look like a UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had talked about when I was picking up my truck, like, he's like, are you going to do any, like, backlighting behind the mesh and stuff like that, behind the perforated steel? I was like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know how it's going to work. And he was like, if you do the rock lights, I think they would, like, you could squeeze them in there and then they would work. So I was like,
I
oh,
want to do
that's
it
an
'cause
idea.
where mine meshes, it'll light up the logo, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
One of the things that I want to do that I've had an idea for in my interior is I have the big sliding rag in there, and I was like, oh, I want the dome light to be like a light all the way around. So I have had this idea for a while. This is also like pre all this LED stuff being so accessible, but I was like, oh, maybe I'll get a custom acrylic piece cut and then frosted edges, and then like have that mounted into the headliner, and then do all that stuff. And then recently, when I was looking for stuff, I came across a Govee light that's actually supposed to go like on your like desk for like people who are like customize their computers and stuff. And it's like pre-frosted, like you can't see the individual lights and stuff like that
okay.
or whatever. So I got that and picked it up, and then I like kind of was in there the other night in the garage, and I like kind of trying to like wrap it around to see if like it would work with the right idea. I was like, oh, this could be cool. Like,
Yeah,
and
'cause
it's like now I can, instead of having someone custom cut acrylic and do all this stuff, I can buy this $60 Govee light and then control it with my phone.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
So Underglow,
Yeah, I like it.
thumbs up.
Yeah, I like it.
All custom lighting. Put custom RGB lights in your house. It will make every night you spend in your living room more enjoyable.
So this light here, this bright LED, just sits here, and it lives here in the corner.
Yeah.
And it's RGB, so it just does whatever I want.
Yeah.
So like I have a little sunset light over here that like projects like a sunset right there.
I thought you were in Forbidden.
And then I put this on with blue. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a blue sky with this sunset coming up
nice.
like
Cool.
this. And it just creates this mood in here.
Yeah.
And it makes me want to be in here. And it creates an ambiance. And sometimes I'll turn the light from blue to like a different color, like red during Christmas or something.
Yeah.
And it just creates like this mood that makes me want to be in here.
Yeah.
I gotta give that a try. I'm not like that. I'm just like turn the light.
It's all cheap on Amazon.
Yeah.
It just
It
gives
is.
you.
My kids are all about that.
Well,
like, all
just
their
take
rooms
this
are,
light
like,
that
decked
you
out.
have this light.
I know. I realize that I can just do that.
And put it up to the thing, and then
Yeah.
you can adjust the brightness and all that. But if I am in here at night and it's just that I will not turn this light on, puts me in a bad mood. I don't want this. I don't want it to be bright in here.
Oh,
Yeah.
you want it to be dark.
I want it to be dark and those mood lights, because if I'm in here and it's just like a turn that light on, I'm like, I feel like I'm sitting at the computer and it's like a job. Like
Yeah.
I'm at work now, and I'm like, nope, this is too clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Sweet.
interesting. Yeah, I got to give that a try. Like I
Do
said,
it.
I'm boring. All right, moving on. Our good friend, I want to call him good friend, 720 Tyler Urban Canada.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
I met
Nice,
him in person
Our 17th
at your guys' show.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like our
really nice
our
guy.
27th favorite Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was our fourth. He moved down.
He moves all over.
Yeah, it's fine.
He's like our 58th favorite Canadian. He's like, oh, let's get political. No, just kidding.
Is that what he wrote?
Yeah. He says, oh, let's get political. And then laughy face. Don't actually have anything. He already likes 720s. He's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, thank you.
720 buddies.
I like his 720. Keep
His
going.
is
Keep
turned
going.
out really
Keep
cool.
going. Yeah, keep going on it. Finish it.
Slamberg, our buddy Kenny. What he says? What's your opinion on the lack of drag scene, lack of
Dragging and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I miss it. If more people were doing it, I feel like I'm missing out on it or whatever, because I don't know. I'm not just out there on the freeways every night or whatever. I don't know. I just miss it. I mean, I guess it's a different era right now, but there are still people out there doing it. All the
extreme lows, yeah.
here, all the extreme lows people in town, like they're just
Oh, they
anywhere
still
they
get
go.
down.
Oh, they get down,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
they just rail everywhere they go, and I
Yeah.
love it. So, I don't know. I go back and watch old drag videos all the time and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
It's-
Sometimes I'll be like, you go to somebody's shop and they're grinding on something, or like there's actually a place, I don't know what they build next to my shop, my workshop. and they're like welding all the time and grinding all the time, and like there's that smell,
Yeah.
like that smell of like sparks, and
Metal.
it just brings me back. Sometimes I'm like, oh.
What do you think it's? Do you just think it just goes back to this everyone being older and more conscious about quality and more conscious about like not wanting to ruin what they put money into?
That's my thing.
No, not necessarily, because I feel like even when dragging was big, there was still plenty of people who were like, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean?
But I think it. Do you think it's just?
I feel like right now it goes back to numbers. I just don't think there's as many people out there with like
Driving
up
mini
and coming
trucks.
driving mini trucks,
Yeah.
and the people that do have them are out there railing them. And honestly, like, so I just think it's like, and also like there's not a lot of like people will post it on their personal stuff. All those extreme lows people are posting it on their Instagrams and stuff like that. But like, you're not making videos of drag sessions.
Yeah.
You're not doing it. I'm not doing it. I haven't gone out or whatever like that. And so like if it's also not like kind of like in
the mix
right
Yeah.
now, then like I think people just aren't thinking about it the same way.
Yeah.
So
Do you think it back in the day when it was like people were filming it, like you guys and everybody, there wasn't like drag blocks. Like people were actually literally dragging their frames.
Well, there
and
was a lot of hitch balls rolling
No,
around.
but that wasn't
it was
out
a little
here.
bit after, like when we were going out a lot of times, like I get it. I don't want to just like, even though I do currently, but like I don't want to just rail my frame until it's gone and it's nothing, and then it's
Yeah.
like loose and it has to get replated. Like I think that if you're gonna be someone who goes out and drags a lot, you should put something there, like so that you can do it.
Like but I'm talking about like when the truck doesn't lay out, like it sits on the drag block, and you're like this high up the
Oh yeah, I mean when we were doing those drag sessions, there would be people who would show up like that.
Yeah.
Like if you look at some of those really big drag videos on the Surface YouTube page, or if you have the DVDs, like there are clips where we're like zooming in on like a dude who has like
block welded to his
blocks
thing.
stacked
Yeah.
or whatever, and it's like, you know, to be honest, in that moment when we were there, we were like, that's kind of sketch, like whatever, but hey, it made for some good video and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I always thought like if you could, like when you have your old entertainment centers and the glass, you put the glass in and you go click click,
Yeah.
type thing. There was like a spring loaded thing.
Yeah.
So like if you took spring loaded steel and
Yeah.
like got it in there, so if you just lay your truck out, it's flat and that just pushes up in. But if you just kind of and get it down, there's enough pressure
Oh, I see what you're saying.
pushing down.
Oh yeah, like a rod that like
yeah, like
forces
there's
it down.
Yeah, there's a spring in there, like a
somebody just did something like that on. I think it's an RV that somebody's building. I have no
you're
idea
talking
who
about
this person
that Barry
is.
Frost RV. It's like a Toyota RV,
No.
Oh.
Like an RV, like
an actual
like
big
an
RV.
old school like big RV. Like, you know, they made them like where they were like a little bit smaller, but still that classic like Winnebago type whatever. There's a guy building one, and he did that, and I think he used hydraulic rams.
yeah.
So the RV is going to be bagged, but he has hydraulic rams that like force down a drag block.
Gotcha.
That goes to the ground.
Yeah, I always thought it would be cool, like wherever you want to mount them, the side, inside of the frame, outside of the frame, in the back or whatever, and it's just the weight of the truck will, you just let it out a little bit and then it drags. But if you want to lay it out, you don't have to do anything. You just air it out because the
and
weight
then
of the
it
truck will
pushes it
push
up.
it up.
Yeah.
And they don't have to hang down very far. Like they could literally hang down this far, and then there could be like a cotter pin where you just kind of boom, pop them out, press it up in there, push it back in. So
The things that I think when we used to be doing that I thought worked the best and like threw the best trail and everything was the hardened steel of leaf springs, leaf packs. So like you're taking that stuff out anyway because you're gonna C-notch your truck and all that stuff. So you have all this like spare steel laying around. But if you cut those in like 6 to 8 inch lengths and just one of them, because they're like, I don't know, at least a ½ inch thick usually, and like do like a solid weld all the way around, like the truck still basically lays out, but then you're dragging that
Right.
yeah,
instead
and
of
you
just
can get
dragging
a couple
the
good
frame.
drag sessions out of it.
Yeah, you do a couple sessions out of it or whatever. Or you like you'd weld that on because you knew a drag session was coming up or whatever, or something like that. So
We still good?
Yeah, my phone just died.
Oh.
It's still good.
Yeah, I mean, there are those people like our NorCal chapter has made a whole mantra out of it that, drag body, not block. So
Yeah.
there is a bit of negative connotation. To,
There was just the negative thing of it's almost like cheating. There's like there's cheating. Like if anything can drag, then is it really?
There's different levels to it. I get it. Like, like I've always been a fan of, like I was saying, like adding a little something that you can do a couple, like go out and drag for a while, or, do a big drag session, or if you were going to do, just have it on there and you were going to like drag a little bit here and there for like a month or so, like, whatever. It's just there. And it's like your truck basically still lays out. You could drag frame. I think that's a little bit more of it too, is like, you're not cheating to get there. You could.
You could if you wanted
My truck
to.
lays body.
Yeah.
The rocker touches the ground. It is loud and it is
violent.
Like, it is violent. It is like there's some stuff under there, some bolts that are not there anymore that like I wish were there, that kind of stuff. But it can do that. So if I add, a half inch of something there to go specifically like rail for a camera or something like that, or just to just go rail for fun or something like that, then it's like I could still do that.
So the opposite of that would be what?
No, go ahead.
So the other side of that would be as someone who has like a truck, and for some reason OBS pops in my mind because I think I've seen this exact scenario where the truck either doesn't lay out, but it can, lay the back
Get
down
there,
and it's got like 4 trailer ball hitches across the back, and they're dragging that.
Like, I'm gonna call somebody out right now, but I love you. I love you, Ryan Roger. I love his Toyota in Sunset. Like, that thing is so clean or
Oh,
whatever.
you're Ryan, the guy with the silver and blue.
Yeah, but he had posted some videos a few months ago, and he had just like little blocks that came out like right underneath the tailgate, and I was just like, it's coming from the wrong spot on the truck.
So that's the other, that is the other thing. So instead of like sparks uniformly coming out from the center or the sides, they come out the back. So I guess there's, like you said, there's levels. There's levels.
Yeah, and that's just opinion too.
I had to-
And, like,
I had
that
to-
truck's really nice. So
Yeah,
like, he probably, like
Doesn't want to mess it up. Yeah. My entire rack and pinion is all worn off. On Tacomas, the rack and pinion bolts hang down lower than the frame. So like if you don't do Z it, which I didn't Z that part, I Z'd the very front.
Yeah.
I have worn through the bolts. So if I want to change my rack and pinion, I have to like cut the bolts out.
Oh wow.
I have one bolt that's like getting there, and then I have this like crazy like steel protector, what's it called, like a off-road
skid
truck,
plate?
a
A
skid plate.
skid
Yeah,
plate, uh-huh.
that Andy built for me. That's like, it was like super beefy. I was like, I drive this thing forever, and it protects my oil pan and everything, and it like curves up in the front so it won't catch on anything like that. And then I was getting some like mechanical work, and it was up on the lift at Arlo's, and I went under there, and I was like, oh, that needs to get replaced. It's like very thin and wavy now. It's not the same thing. I need to get another one of those built.
That's funny, man.
It's
That's
like
cool.
maintenance. It's like maintenance.
Yeah, dragging maintenance.
That's
I just drag my bumper.
Yeah.
But I don't drag even fast. Like maybe a little bit through a parking lot. Just to let fools know what's up.
It's just that I can.
I told you the story last time we talked
Yeah.
about the whole bumper thing.
But was that it?
What? Oh no, there are more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
let's
there's
go.
more.
Let's keep it
There's
going.
more.
Keep
There's
it
more.
going.
There's more. So the next three are from Ben, our buddy Skillset Ben. He says, "What's your opinion on no body mods, big wheel body drops, a la Fat Fab style builds?"
I'm fine with them, especially at this era. Like, it's kind of like, there's a part of me that's like, oh, it's like really clean. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, it would be nice to just have like a stock whatever that just lays on the ground and looks good or whatever, and it has all like the normal
creature
functions
comforts
or whatever, all the creature comforts and stuff like that. So I would say that I like it, but specific to the like Fat Fab style whatever, I just don't like new big body trucks. I think they don't like the stuff body styles on them. I don't think they look good. Like, and that's
Like the
that's nothing
Silverados and
against
stuff.
those, but yeah, the new GMC stuff like that, like I just don't like the proportions for myself, and so when I see a lot of those, I'm like, it's not my vibe or whatever. But I think that at this point, there's nothing wrong with it, because it's like, back in the day, it felt a little bit more competitive, and maybe it still feels that way for certain people in certain scenes, but it was like, well, I shaved everything, or I shaved this, or I did this, and even to the extent where it's unnecessary, and then you do lose functionality. And if you are like going to have a build that never really ends up getting to paint, you could have had a completely painted looking really nice truck, but then you started getting wild with the body mods, and now you have to be someone in the position to pay to have that painted or something like that. Maybe you aren't. Maybe your truck doesn't end up where you want it as fast as you want it. But yeah, I mean, like I have that F-150 right now, and then like I'll see like those dudes in No Regrets who have the F-150s, like the black one, and I think Dave used to. Was that Dave's or
that was Dave's?
But like, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. I'd love to just bag and body the truck that I have on now on wheels. That's the only thing to it, nothing else. And I think that would look cool.
Yeah,
so.
I'm also split myself on that because like, me as well. Like, there's something about those newer style body trucks, but that aside, I think they're super cool. I think the fact that they are taking these trucks that are so much more technologically advanced now and still maintaining, like, that's what I wonder, like when they built the Navigator and stuff, like that vehicle is so technologically advanced, like, and I've never talked to Jake or anything about it or even inquired like what stayed and what couldn't stay. You know, does the adaptive cruise control still work? Does
so that all they are more technologically, yeah. Anyways,
yeah.
But there's less stuff. So there's less wires. You know what I mean? There's just less things because
it's like CAN bus control.
No. It's way less.
Oh.
Like even in those Rivian trucks, the Gen 2 Rivian trucks that just came out, they got rid of I think 6 miles of wires.
Really?
Yeah. And it can functionally do more. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's just the wiring is totally different.
Is it like more information through less stuff, like fiber optics opposed to like a coaxial cable or something?
Yeah, exactly. It's just with the new tech that you can do more with less. So, but you know what I mean? If there's a computer or whatever, like microchips and stuff like that, like you can just take it from here and it can stay there. It's just moved up a little bit or whatever.
I think Fat Fabs has some like YouTube videos where they kind of talk about that stuff a little bit about like, oh, we actually had to do this and
I just can't remember exactly what they said.
Yeah.
But to me, like the most impressive thing to me is someone who buys a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 truck, because a lot of the ones they're building, they're like, you know, high countries or like platinums, or they're already high level trim vehicles, which are very expensive. And then you throw $20,000 worth of wheels under it, and then you spend $50,000 on a suspension.
If you think about it, though, like the wheel wells in those trucks are so big.
Yeah.
So like you're putting these 26s and 28s and even 30s on, it's filling up the wheel well, but you're actually like, how much are you actually cutting? You know what I mean?
That's
Versus
true.
like an 18 on a mini truck, like you're probably cutting the same amount of stuff. And then you look at it like the interiors of those trucks and what comes with them standard, like you said, like adaptive cruise control, like the leather, the stitching in these things, like it's really, some of those trims are really, really nice. If you were to just take my Tacoma or an older truck and then do all that stuff and then pay to get that interior nice leather wrap and all that stuff and then a nice stereo, you know what I mean? So if you have a higher trim truck with a really nice stereo,
You're already there.
Yeah. So you've spent $80,000 on this truck, but you're also not doing as much to it.
Right.
So,
And that's the other thing, because like if you think about it, if you like you had an OBS dually and you were gonna restore it, like not only are you putting like new interior, new paint and wheels and suspension, you're replacing clips and you're replacing these tiny little.
If you want an OBS dually, and you want it all freshened up with new interior and new all this stuff and a new motor and all, like to get it you're $150,000.
Yeah, like that. And you could have bought the $80,000 Navigator.
Yep, and put $50,000 into it.
Yeah, and boom, and probably been more comfortable.
yeah, exactly. And more room, more comfort, more everything,
more features and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah.
So I also like what they're doing. They've always been, but that's what they've always done.
Yeah.
They've always taken these big body trucks and done crazy stuff to them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're like, I feel like they're like the default.
Yeah, like you said, like
some new body truck comes out. Did they do that Tundra, the white Tundra?
they did.
Yeah, they're just the default.
Yeah,
they're going to do it first, and
Chevy's just going to send it straight to them.
yeah. And like he said, like he already called it. It's the fat. Like, what do you think of the Fat Fab style truck?
Yeah.
It's already has a thing.
It's already a thing. So yeah, that's a great not question but opinion thing. So these are all from Ben. So all the next ones are from Ben, and then one from Bacon.
Okay,
we'll do that at the end. And we talked about a couple of these things. He says mini truck and magazine, fads like hot chicken sandwiches. I feel like that's a pointed That's pointed. Japan style, fully shaved, detailed engine bays. So those are like 3 different things. We already talked about Man Truckin' Magazine. He knows we love hot chicken sandwiches. How do you feel about hot chicken sandwiches? Are you like us? Are you like a little crazy?
No, I've just got a little bit more interested in trying them out because of you guys, I think. So, like the Houston's that we went to at Rolling the Red Ox, I was like, this is a good piece of chicken. And then...
Which is funny because that's very mid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your experience at the one in was it downtown you went to?
Yeah, downtown Phoenix, there's a place called Full Speed Chicken and Ribs, which is owned by these people who have a place called Little Miss Barbecue here that has 2 locations. That's like award-winning, some of the best barbecue in the country. And then they open this like kind of like a fast casual kind of vibe place, but it's like ribs and then like chicken. And then I had posted a picture when we were there, but they have like a wall of like inspiration and like Hattie B's is on the wall.
Is that with the Simpsons? No, wait, no, that's different.
That's when I sent.
That's when you said. Okay, yeah, sorry.
But like we went there and I got a sandwich called the Van Buren, which was like hot chicken with on like a honey biscuit with like a special sauce that they do and all this stuff. I would say that it was probably one of the best sandwiches in just chicken or not that I've ever had. It was really good. And it was like I went there kind of because I already like their other barbecue, but because I was like, oh, the chicken fad. No, well, not really fad, but like,
no, it is a fad.
It is.
Totally
I guess,
right
because they're popping up everywhere.
They are. It's like, what are the fads? There's been the tacos,
bacon,
sushi. Bacon was a fad. What is it? It's Nashville hot chicken now, and then there was something else. Smash burgers are like a fad thing now. But yeah, I want to go to that place.
Yeah, definitely hit it up. It's really good.
You know how we were talking about pizza? Like when you do a pizza, you judge it. You just get the cheese first for the base.
Yeah.
And then you go for the toppings later because you just want to get the base. Like to me, like we went to me and Scott Rev B went to a chicken place in Tempe the other day, and they had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to try. But I'm like, I just want the Nashville hot chicken.
Yeah, you always start with the number 1.
Yeah, and if you can do it, then I'll come back.
And then if it tastes good, then I want to explore your other options because I got to start. That's my cheese pizza.
Yeah.
And then I'll start with your different buns or your butter sauces or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. The one that I got downtown, I was like, I saw a picture of it on their Instagram and I was like, I gotta try that. Yeah. And then like I didn't see it on the menu, and so I just took out my phone and I was like, I want this one.
You just give me that.
So it was good. I don't know. I mean, I like food, so.
What was up with that other place you went to? You posted up as like fries and shrimp or something like that?
Oh yeah, the other day, and I think they're kind of a chain. It started in like the signage in the place said that they started in like I think in like the LA area or something, but it was called Mr. Fry Man or Mr. Fries Man, and everything was like French fries with like a bed of something on it or whatever. Yeah, and I got the honey garlic steak and shrimp fries, and again it was like I kind of went in this place and it was kind of like just any small place that's like pop up, you know, like the hot chicken places are kind of like that, where you're kind of like you could just get a certain vibe when you get in there where you're like, this is either going to be pretty good or maybe really bad.
Jaybirds in Utah walked in there and
walked in there.
This is not going to be good.
But this was one of the best things I'd eaten in a while too, where I was like, I went in and I was like, this looks good. I saw this somewhere. So we're like, yeah, let's go try it out. And then it was insane. Like, I can't wait to go back and eat it again. I had to stop myself too. Like, I was like, I just got to stop eating this. Like,
yeah,
it's like
we have a chance tomorrow to eat a lunch, and I'm just trying to think of like where we could go. That would be like fun and kind of like new.
The chicken place that Tanner took us to
Gus's
was that was really good.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one, but I've never been there.
Yeah, it's really good. It's not like chicken sandwiches. It's like chicken
fried
strips
chicken.
or fried chicken. But yeah, that was really good.
To go kind of off the rails a little bit, you didn't know what Buffalo Chicken Spot was?
No, I never heard of that one.
Yeah, have you?
I've never eaten there.
Oh really?
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
It's really
of them,
good. It's like fries with boneless chicken wings on top. They have different flavors, but it's really tasty.
Yeah.
So I was surprised. I was like, oh, I thought you were joking at first.
No, I just saw it and I was like, oh, what's that? Like, where are you? I want to know.
And I was like, no, I'm trying to show you this.
I know. I'm like
regular cab, hard body with a Datsun bed trailer.
Else, okay. I didn't understand what was going on. So
Yeah.
someone else posted. You did?
No,
He posted the photo.
The photo
Yeah.
of the truck, and
Of
then
the
in
truck,
the
and in the
background,
back I saw the
you're like,
buffalo
what's
spot.
up with that buffalo?
Yeah, I was the
It like,
I was the annoying guy that didn't. I don't care what's in the picture. I'm like, oh, what's that? Charge your battery type of guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I was like driving or something, and I didn't really.
There's
get
another
the
one
gist.
that's opening on Northern and the 101 called Slim Chickens. It's a chain.
Is that the one we saw?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
July
opening one of
X.
those by my house too, 35th and Happy Valley. But it looks super chainy.
It does, but sometimes they're, you
Yeah.
know, it just depends. It depends on the price and the quality of the food. Sometimes it's good just to
Yeah.
have a go-to spot that's just like easy in there, but it's pretty good. So
Yeah.
And then what was his last one?
Although there's a couple more.
No,
Yeah, so-
he had one more. In
No, I know
that
in that.
grouping.
I say yeah. There's a couple more
Yeah.
in that one. Actually, no. It's just one more.
Yeah, there was 3.
Yeah. So he says, "What are your opinion is on Japanese style, fully shaved, detailed engine base?"
Oh yes, I love them.
Oh, so good.
100%.
So good.
And this kind of also goes back to a lot of people do those same things on the Volkswagens, where they're like
like
it's
the
just
M,
like
the M, what they call
block.
MK
yeah,
style.
yeah,
Yeah.
But that kind of also goes back to us talking about like the LED lighting and stuff like that. Like when you see just like super smooth nothing, and then just like an engine where you're like, does that even actually
Yeah.
run? And
Yeah,
it does.
That's my favorite.
And then it's just like you add lighting into it. I have a thing saved on my phone so I remember it, but like there's one where a guy like added like a push button to turn it on, and I thought that was a nice accent to it. But yeah, I love those.
Yeah,
Those are great.
Me too. I love it. Like just stripped, so very mechanical, just like stripped down.
yeah, you're like, is this
Yeah.
hooked up to anything?
Yeah.
Shave all the like factory holes and like kind of body work.
I always wonder, like,
it's really cool.
It looks cool right there, but then I'm wondering if like you looked under it and everything that was supposed to be
They
there is
just
just
behind
shoved
it.
and zip tied to the
Yeah.
frame.
I've seen a lot of like wire tuck video clips and stuff like that, and I'm sure there's some that are
It's almost,
like that.
it's almost like building a custom computer.
Yeah.
It's just like the
Yeah.
wire. We're like running wires. And all
You
that stuff.
know, and now that I think about it, because you are not, I don't know how you feel, but I get your opinion. Like how you feel about the engine covers, like when people add engine covers and engine bays and stuff. Like, isn't that essentially what you're doing with that? You're just kind of hiding everything behind covers, like behind the firewall,
No,
up in the
because
fender wells.
yeah, but the covers are. It's a deeper thing. It's not like a cheater.
yeah, that's true because you're actually looking down.
It's
into
down. The motor, everything is.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
looks factory, but there's nothing there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of like a cover, it's like when people do sheet metal beds and there's this much bed floor.
yeah.
Yeah, it bothers me about my bed floor. I want my whatever next thing I do. I'm too far into this now. But my
all
next thing I do
committed.
will have a deep bed floor as
Yeah.
deep as it.
That was one of
possibly
the
can
main
go.
things on my list with Panda. Was like I need the back behind the bridge to be as low as it can possibly be.
Yes,
Still.
that was one of my criterias that just didn't work out.
It didn't work.
It just didn't work out with the suspension.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay, like you're too.
We were too far into
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would have to literally cut the entire back off and redo it again. And I've already done that now 4 times.
You're like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, I'll just run no bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really
And
like
strap your cases to the freaking tube work.
I really like the covers when they're done, especially like on bigger like hot rods and stuff. And I really love when they're like you have a gloss paint exterior and a like matte paint, flat paint for all those in there. So I think it's cool when people do it. I feel like, you know, there are some out there where it looks like they're just trying to hide something.
Right.
But then there are some where it's like really specific and they might make like a spot where like a hose or a wire like kind of like comes out of it for a reason and stuff like that. So I would say I like it.
Do you remember when everybody was doing the glass tubes on their cooling systems? I don't know, that just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
That was like a big thing for a while.
It was for a minute. Not everyone
Yeah.
either. It was very specific. There
I just
was only
remember a few of
people.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was always cool to me, but then you still had a rubber coupling.
Yeah.
Like you had this nice glass tube that was just held on by a piece
Yeah.
of rubber.
Yeah.
And it's like it was very hard to make that work.
And then
Yeah.
how long is that really going to last once? Because I get it. You flush it, you know, you refill it, but then like how often are you going to be doing that to keep that nice, like clean?
No, it's just
Or just
dirty.
worried
It's
about
just
it
like
breaking
rusty.
also.
Yeah.
Like glass just
Yeah.
breaking.
Yeah. And then your car overheats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Moving on. This is a great question-ish thing. How did you get so lucky to be one producer of the best podcast in mini trucking? What's it like?
Well, it's tell you what,
Thanks, Ben.
it's stressful.
It's stressful to listen to these
I'm
two.
listening to these guys, and I'm
These
just
two
like,
wicked jabronis.
how long has it been? 2 years? You don't have segments. You don't have. You don't have lighting. We're doing this right now with a one camera angle.
I know
Yeah.
it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
No, I mean it's fun. I mean that's you guys like jokingly gave me that thing, but it's I don't know. You guys are just my friends. I'm just
Yeah, I
talk.
think it's great. I think
Yeah.
it's so funny because it like alludes to because like you got to think about people who really are kind of like on the outside, who just tune in and listen or whatever, really don't know what's going on. It kind of is like, well, what is going on over there? They have a producer like.
yeah,
just
no,
funny.
it's
It's
just
funny you say like the lighting too, because like when we did the Auto Revolution one, and we
Yeah.
were just like,
Oh yeah, we're sitting in his studio. We're just like,
yeah.
This is
And
so
the funny
nice.
part about that studio is what it looks like on the
the
inside
inside.
versus what was around us.
yeah.
It's very different. But the funny, I thought about that. I'm like, okay, should we do this? Should we do that? And then I go, is that going to just take this fun out of this thing? Like to take it
Yeah.
to that next level?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there are certain things that we could probably definitely do. Like when we do guest episodes is having multiple angles.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I think that'll be like the next iteration of
Yeah.
when we go traveling. That iteration when we leave the state of California and Arizona, and we literally go on a trip
Yeah, just to do
podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lonnie, Radar, Stu, like those guys. I think that's when that will start to we'll set that up more, where it'll be a little bit of a
Yeah.
Yeah,
thing.
I think we're running into a little rough patch or a little snafu right now, but I think we're still on a good track. I think
No,
we're
you guys
moving
are
forward.
Well, and we didn't start this thing to go like, this is going to be the best podcast
Yeah,
you
yeah.
guys have ever heard. You know what I mean? Like this,
We'll
we're
leave
just
that
like,
up to other people.
yeah. You guys do the best part. We're gonna just talk.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
just gonna kind of do our thing. But like I said
Did-
in the beginning, it's good. It's really good that we've kind of reined it in.
Yeah.
Well, we think we're still fresh in this whole thing. We
Oh,
got to
yeah.
get to the
Yeah.
back to our offices.
Yeah.
And
Ronnie's interview will be interesting because I want to really talk to him about the being an interviewer,
Yeah.
because that's a special. Like I always go back to the what's his name from Hot Ones.
yeah, mm-hmm.
He's one of the best interviewers ever.
Yeah.
And because what he does is he spends the time to go through people's Instagrams and to just kind of just to see, like, oh, that's what were you doing there?
Yeah.
And instead of just asking the basic questions, and I think that's really cool. Did Fletcher have a question too that wasn't on the actual
that's
thing?
right. You're right. You're right.
I would check on my phone, but it.
Yeah, no, I got it. I got it right here.
I'm hoping there's not one that I missed,
Actually,
or was his just for the other?
it
three?
was for Ben, Nick, and Ron.
There was another page though. He had. I thought he had. No.
So questions for your guests if you make it. Ben, Nick, and Ron, not Will.
There was one on there for him.
Okay,
That's okay.
Yeah, because he had 2 pages. When I screenshot it, it was literally 2 pages. But maybe not. Maybe I'm.
Nope, I
Nope.
think you're making it
Okay.
up.
All
Sorry.
right.
Nope, nothing. But that we could just go right into our
Bacons.
old buddy. Speaking about Instagram digs. Sorry. A lot of the things I do is just because it makes me giggle.
I don't mind that. That's one of the, I don't usually like pictures of myself. I don't mind that one. So
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so to finish it off right here, it's really simple. Candy corn or Peeps, and why do you choose tequila over them? Bacon is an interesting dude. Okay.
We don't even know if this person's a real person.
Yeah,
so-
we have a theory currently. He might be some sort of like bot.
Yeah.
he's AI.
He's AI. He's AI.
He's just
Bacon
AI.
is AI.
Yeah.
I don't like Peeps. They're too sugary. I don't really like candy corn. Lindsay loves candy corn.
Okay.
Yes, if you ever want to ask her.
Give her some candy corn.
Yeah, it's just like I don't get it. It's not for me.
yeah, it's like
whatever.
wax.
Yes.
I like them.
I'm a fan.
So not to derail it, but yeah, I know you shop at Winco. I don't know if you shop at Winco, but they have like these bulk items, and for every holiday they'll have like a bulk item of that particular
Yeah.
holiday's candy. And it's only one time. Like if it's Halloween, it's candy corn. If it's Christmas, they have this really terrible like hard candy, like Christmas candy.
Yeah.
It's terrible, but I got to get one little bag of it just for to get into the
Is it
thing.
the ones that are like mini pillows and they like kind of break
Yes.
apart?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
And then
I
there's,
actually
like-
kind of like those.
No, they're not. Are you talking about the mints?
Yeah, where they're
Oh
like.
yeah, no. These ones are like hard. Like think of like a butterscotch candy, but like not. I don't know. It's,
Yeah.
I'll find a picture of it. I'll show you guys. But
Okay.
Just buy some.
anyway,
For us.
yeah, no, I like candy corn.
And I said, just buy some for us instead of sending us an example.
Oh, but I can't because it's not Christmas yet.
Well, it will be.
And then I'll send you guys some.
Yes.
Okay.
Or you have a Winco right here, so you could go do
It's
it
way
yourself.
better if you send it to us. Well, Winco, the bulk candy is amazing.
It is.
They have chocolate covered banana chips and sometimes honeycomb, and I got to stay away from that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll eat it before I get home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's real bad.
The plantains, the fried plantains are pretty good.
I haven't had those.
I think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, candy corn. I like candy corn. I'm with Lindsay. I like candy corn. And you don't drink, so tequila is like.
Yeah, and I don't drink, so I
So
wouldn't. I
tequila's-
wouldn't know about tequila.
Have you ever had
Honest.
tequila?
No,
No. Yeah.
I don't think so, or whatever. I never had a drink in my life, like ever.
Like a mixed drink?
No, like
Like
a drink.
a drink
Like
of
an
alcohol?
I've never had a
alcoholic
drink
drink.
of
Alcohol.
alcohol. Like I've had sips of stuff,
But never
here and
like-
there.
like a
Somebody
full,
will be have
like a
something. I'll be
cup.
like, I'll taste it, whatever.
Yeah.
I've never,
But
had
not at your own. Like this is like a whole thing.
never more than just a little bit.
So you've never been intoxicated.
Nope,
It's
never
been
done anything.
5 years this month since I've had a drop of alcohol.
Nice, congrats.
Thanks.
Good job.
Yeah.
When I was younger, one, I loved to drive, and I always liked being DD, and my main thing when I was younger was like I never wanted to not be in full control of
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, that was a reason that took me a long time to drink. I didn't just like bust out at 21 and
Yeah.
start to party. Like it took years because of the control.
Yeah, me
thing.
too.
Yeah.
I didn't start drinking until I was like.
I was too scared of what I would do
Uh-huh.
when I drank, and then the first time I drank, my scared things came to.
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, I
It-
was
it
like,
came
oh,
to life.
things I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I got to a certain point where I was like, I went this far.
Might as
Might
well
as well
ride
keep
it out.
going. Yeah, that's just kind of like how I've been or whatever. And like, I don't, it doesn't bother me when other people drink or whatever. And like,
But have you tried drinking and driving?
It's hella fun, man.
no, but
It's like a challenge.
I was working on something recently where someone was asking for some like whiskey labels, like to go on something, and I was like looking at these like bottles of whiskey, and I was like, that looks kind of good. I don't know. I
It's
was like,
not.
should I try whiskey? And
No,
then- yeah.
it's not. It's terrible.
It's,
Should I become a whiskey guy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can talk to Jose and Erica. They'll-
Yeah.
But then, like, that's a, okay. Like, I'm gonna talk a little crap, Jose. Be ready. It's like I never got that because I like beer, and I like beer, and I like to, get, anyway. But whiskey guys are they go, it tastes a little notes, and
Like
then
wine.
I'm all. What are you talking about?
yeah.
This is rubbing alcohol.
That's also kind of been my thing. Like also with alcohol, I've like very rarely found alcohol that I enjoy the taste of when I have tasted it. There's been some times where I'm like, ooh, if I drank, I would drink that. But most of the time, I'm like, this is coating on my tongue now.
the best thing that people say that do drink or go, taste this, man. You could barely taste the alcohol. It's so good.
Yeah, and it tastes just exactly just.
Or no. If you can't taste the alcohol and
Oh.
it tastes better, that means alcohol doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
Like if you're
Yeah,
trying to
oh,
make a
that's what you're
drink
saying. Yeah,
to
yeah.
mask the flavor of alcohol and it tastes like pineapple juice, like
I don't fall for that whole thing where I just drink straight whiskey because it's wonderful. Well, no, it's
there
not. Quit
there
lying.
might be a thing to that where you enjoy. It's like cigar smoking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Right? It's like a hobby versus you're trying to get drunk. It's like, or buzzed. You know what I mean? It's just like you're trying to appreciate the barrels and the slow. It's like wine. Like
Yeah.
good wine tastes really good. It's not $10 bottle of wine.
Yeah,
You know,
or even
like-
$20 bottle of wine.
No, I remember one time, like I can't stand wine, but I was filming up in Napa, like in the caverns, and this wine company only bottles their wine once a year. So I was filming that process, and then we went to a restaurant up there, and they're like, they brought a bottle. That's the thing. You can bring your own bottle of wine to these places, and they pay a fee for it.
Yeah, but yeah,
And they poured it, and I was like, this is delicious. This is good. And they're like, yeah, that's because it's not what you buy in the grocery store.
Right.
Yeah, the only taste of wine I've ever had, I'm like, why is it so dry?
Yeah,
was it wet and dry at the same time?
I was just trying my mouth out.
Yeah, drinking is the thing. But
I remember I took
like
a
to
big
drink.
swig of apple cider, like an alcoholic apple cider, like I got it from AM/PM or whatever, and I didn't see that it was a dry one, and it was like hot. I remember I just left like BioCustoms, and I was like, I need something to drink. So I was like, an apple cider sounds really good, and I got it, and I was like, expecting refreshing this,
Yeah.
and it was a dry one, and it was just like,
Oh, yeah.
like was sucking the moisture out of my throat.
Ugh. And also, to not, I was saying that about like whiskeys and stuff like that. Beer is also objectively disgusting.
Yeah.
Like there's when someone's like, I enjoy drinking a beer. It's like drinking coffee. Like I enjoy drinking it, but I enjoy because it doesn't taste very good. You know, like it's kind of a weird thing. But the people who say like our buddy Daniel from
That's
Utah,
right.
yeah, he's like he like drinks these like gnarly IPAs. It's just so good. I'm all, you liar. You're a liar.
I remember going out to dinner with a couple friends, and they were just like, "Okay, try this," and I'm like, "Okay," and they're like, "Now take a drink of this, and then try it again." I'm all,
It's the same thing.
I don't know. Is it a mind thing? Like, did it taste different? I don't know.
Yeah, there's also like pairings and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like
Yeah,
I knew a guy who was like, beer's disgusting, but beer with chicken wings is so good.
He's not wrong. A cold Corona with lime on a summer day, probably one of the best things in the world.
Yeah. Well,
Or
but
yeah.
ice cold beer.
yeah, from a
It's
bottle,
just so
like just
good.
like that that ice, and then if you go to like Hooters or any restaurant where the beer has frost on it,
Yeah, that's good.
it's so good.
I want a beer now.
5 years was enough.
Yeah, 5 years is enough. I'm out.
So, oh my god, I just looked at the time. All right,
Yeah.
I gotta work early tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
okay.
Well, you almost beat the longest episode.
I'll leave it to Ben.
All right.
No, it wasn't Ben. It was Nick.
No, it was Ben.
Oh, Ben was.
We just
Ben
recorded
beat-
it today.
Oh,
Ben beat
I
Nick.
thought Ben. Okay, so Ben
No.
also beat Oliver.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Oliver, second place, buddy.
Second place. Well, yeah. Well, that was all the questions. So we're all
Sweet.
good.
All right.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for coming to set us straight.
Yeah. I mean, the internet set you straight first.
That's very true.
The internet
The
was
internet
like-
has a good way of doing that.
Yeah, I was giving you guys one more episode to bring it up. And then I was on my way to work this morning, and then Brian's like, so people have been messaging me.
You're like, oh, here we go.
Oh, cool.
I was
It
like,
didn't have to be me first.
well, I want to do more of these episodes. So if
Yeah.
anyone ever has questions like that wants an opinion besides ours,
Right.
we'll bank those things, and maybe we'll talk to Will about it, and then Will also. You have to experience what we do, and you have to take notes and like, hey, I want to talk about this, or I want to respond to this, or you guys talked about this certain subject, and I want to talk about it too.
Yeah.
So maybe make a little
The mini
note of
truck
that.
and mag that you brought up, that was one of them.
Yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
In my car, I'm like, oh, I want to say this.
Yeah, so many people do that. They want to be like, wait, or whatever. So yeah, think about stuff, and each time Frank comes out here, we'll do this.
I like this kind of like catching up thing because
Yeah.
this was supposed to happen yesterday, and it was supposed to because it kind of like eases into the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we did Nick, and then we did Ben, and now you're the third one in. But yeah, it's fun. I like this. I think it's really cool.
All right, go buy our t-shirts.
Buy
Buy their
t-shirts.
t-shirts.
Yeah.
Do something where you bring that up at the beginning too, as well. Just like a separate one that you chop in there.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Later.